Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah.
Joe Woods, over and all, I got to give him an A-. Give Joe Woods an A-. He did his thing, man.
A-.
But before you go, Justin Klink says we should let these dudes dress up for Halloween every week. What a win. They came out in
Hey, listen, we were saying before the game, we were in our text chain saying Myles Garrett did all this talking this week. He did. They did a feature story on his house and all this, and he's dressed up in this elaborate costume, and he backed it up, man. He backed it up in a big way. Especially early in the game, he got the defense going by creating havoc, made a great play.
All right, there you go. I was already said hello to everybody, even though we weren't on live. It's a bad job out of me.
It was nice to hear, though.
But
like 5 times. Out. Cold open, 32 seconds.
And
Cold
I knew
open,
it.
32
and
seconds.
I knew it. And then I just went anyway.
I popped in literally 7 seconds before the opening theme song.
I know. I pulled the J. I pulled the J.
My teacher used to always say, it's because you're not actively listening.
I was actively listening. Jay is actually not paying attention. I was.
And now he's blamed. He's spreading the blame.
Now just throwing Jay over there. He's not here to defend himself.
Jason Aruba catching.
Yeah,
right. He didn't even. He's gonna show up back. He's gonna have 1,000 texts from all of us about these games and stuff because he didn't get involved at all.
No, he's deep at sea.
Oh yeah, and who knows what else? All right, the Browns win. How about that? The season's fixed. They're gonna win 10 in a row. Everything's.
Super
I don't
Bowl,
know.
baby. Super
I don't know
Bowl.
what's gonna happen, but for one night at least, guys.
One night only.
This team was phenomenal. G, start us off. Because you've been a harsh critic of Kevin Stefanski, but what a night for the Browns last night.
Hey,
Perfect
man,
game.
Listen, he did everything he was supposed to do, man. He finally actually came out there, and I like the fact that, and we'll probably talk about this, all of the things that we wanted to see, magically, they have these little things where they don't do it for a while, then you come back to it. I saw Kareem Hunt in the backfield multiple times. I saw him back there with Nick Chubb multiple times. I thought he was very intentional about the way he ran the football, and we'll probably get into that later on as well. But I like the way that they had a game plan on defense, too. Joe Woods and this defense plays better when they are aggressive. I could point out 4 or 5 games where I love the movement up front. I like the fact that they're moving Clowney around. They moved Myles Garrett around. And I think what you see is sometimes when you are desperate and your back's against the wall, you put people in a game like Taki who are emotional. The guy, he's not going to be spectacular for you. He doesn't have the range that JOK has. But one thing he does have is the fact that he reads his assignments. He's assignment conscious, and he's where he was supposed to be. I thought he had a great game. And then obviously you got a guy like Martin Emerson, who I think he's playing like one of the best corners that the Browns have right now, and that's over Denzel Ward. And a lot of people looked at me like I was crazy, but I liked what they did.
He's playing well.
Overall, I love the game plan. I love the fact that they took 3 points. I love the fact that they took 3 points before the half. That 11-point lead was very key.
Well, Mike Paul, because you represent the nervous faction of our fan base. You're always nervous going into every game, more nervous than most of us. So as the representative of the nervous people out there, were you one of these nudnicks who are 25-0 and I tweet, oh, Browns are playing great. Don't do that, Adam. No. They might cost them the game. Were you one of those people?
First of all, nervous is not, that's a misrepresentation of my philosophy.
What is it?
Mine is just resolved, just resigned.
to things
just
bad
I
happening.
Accept, that I assume that's going to happen, but I'm not like, oh golly, I hope we don't lose or get. I'm just like, I watch the game, and I see what they put in front of me, and I expect the worst. I do, but I'm not on edge about it. I've come to terms. That game though was obviously a very fun watch, but I found it equally frustrating because I'm looking at all this talent that we've known is on this roster this whole year, being utilized properly, being in the right places at the right time, playing the way that we knew that they're capable of playing, And as much as I celebrated that win and had a blast watching it, and I did very much so, I'm also just like, all you can think about in the back of your head is what could have been if this would have happened earlier, and none of it looked that hard to execute. They just did pretty much exactly what the fan base has been begging them to do for a very long time now, and it paid off in spades. So while it was extremely exciting and very cool to watch, it was also very frustrating for me.
We'll get to, I want to talk a little more about that, but Jason, first with you, the Browns, I don't even worry about the rookie season for Joe Burrow, because the rookie season, the Browns had the better team. In 2020, the Browns were a better football team than the Bengals.
Yep.
But last year, the first time the Browns played the Bengals, they had their whole starting lineup, the Bengals. They had Jamar Chase for that game, and the Browns just killed them. And once again last night, they killed them. Is there something to this? And why do you think the Browns have this edge over the Bengals for some reason?
I don't think there's any logical
coincidence?
Yeah, I don't think there's any logical explanation for why the Browns seem to dominate Joe Burrow.
It's bizarre.
Go back to last year in Cincinnati. He's moving him down the field on the opening drive, and then Denzel Ward, 90-some-odd yard interception return, pick six the other way, and it changes the entire dynamic of that game the rest of the way. And last night felt much the same way. You know, the Bengals are at their best when they spread five wide, put Burrow in the shotgun, and let him go. And they weren't able to get to that last night. The Browns brought pressure. They brought blitzes. They were sending more than four at times. Taki played out of his mind. It was the best game he's played. It feels like sometimes he runs himself out of plays. He runs himself out of position. And last night, he was always in the right place at the right time. Garrett played. That was Myles' best game of the season. Yeah. The spin move he put on, that's like a cheat code. Like, that shouldn't be legal. Because how do you block that?
Yeah.
And I'd like to see more of that. I will have, as Anthony's mom brings in all of
Shout out to Anthony's mom. What's your mom's name, Anthony?
Jan.
Shout out to Jan.
Shout out. I am going to eat this entire bag.
You do know why.
She sent us Halloween candy.
You do know why she brought you those, because I said yesterday what the number one joint was. It's definitely Reese Cups. Anything Reese's.
Well, I could eat that whole bag too.
We can pass that your way. I don't need
I've
any
had
of
10
this
so
stuff.
far.
Hey, shout out to Jan's like slow trick or treat traffic in her neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that's why this is here. Don't act like Jan was treating us to this because she loves us. She's like, get this out of the house. Give it to those fat guys on that station.
But this will be my victory Reese's for calling that the Browns would pull their Chubb out.
Yes.
2 touchdowns. And
You did
nailed
that.
him.
Not in
Nailed
it.
it.
You're
And
going
a
to
really
win.
clever,
but you
clever
didn't really
metaphor,
get it.
too. Clever
Of course
metaphor.
I got
You
it.
didn't really, because that second Chubb touchdown was irrelevant
You
to the
are
game.
out of your mind.
I can't believe
That's factually correct.
That game was not over.
Will someone
It
please
was 25-0 already.
And then they scored the other way.
Get out of here. The
give
game was
Jason
over.
credit for calling that the best running back in the NFL might get a couple of touches near the red zone.
There you
Here's
go.
what's
Good
amazing.
job, man.
Guys,
So
here's what's
smart.
Jason wins the headline, by the way.
He
Let's
does
take it real
that.
quick. In case you missed it yesterday, Bull.
Drop that.
You can take his headline.
Yeah, he did win.
Drop
This is
that.
Jason's headline. He does win. He's our Week 8
they did-
winner.
yeah.
Browns pull out their Chubb. Nick Chubb rushes for 2
But-
touchdowns, an upset win. That's
By the
all
way,
true. It has
absolutely.
It is true. By the way, a few things here. First of all, this idea that they used Nick Chubb more, yeah, they did, because they had a big lead in the fourth quarter. They didn't use him any more through 3 quarters than they have
He
in the
had
other
2
games.
carries after in the first quarter. 2.
Yeah, and he had, I think, 12 after 3 quarters.
I think you're right. I have to
Yeah.
go back and look. I think
So
it
they
was
didn't
12.
use him any more early. They
But-
used him because they were up big and they put him away.
And I actually asked
Yeah.
Kevin about this after the
Yeah.
game. After the Cooper debacle on the double reverse interception, when he was trying to throw the ball out of bounds, and he was great about it.
Oh, he was trying to throw it out of bounds?
He was trying to throw it out of
Didn't
bounds.
seem like it.
He threw it right at him. But
Yeah.
and
the dots of this play are amazing.
it's
Yeah,
great.
it is. You're right. That is hilarious.
Both he and Kevin said it's a lot harder to throw it out of bounds than he thought it was.
Yeah.
He was off balance. He was falling down. It was a terrible throw.
Yes.
He
we're-
called it an abomination.
And we all get to be smiling about it and making a joke about it because
because
we
they
won.
won.
But what if that had cost them the game?
Oh, if they lost, G
We'd
would
be
be calling
furious.
for Stefanski to be
But
fired.
right now, we're
Jay
all-
would call for Aruba from Stefanski to be fired.
But we're using-
Brad Sellers
Yep.
would be, we're not
No.
getting better. You know, I mean,
because we won.
No,
you liked it.
When I was on the radio, I said, this game, I don't care what they got to do. They got to break tendencies. They got to come out. They do. If you got some trick plays you ain't used, if you got a fake punt you want to throw out there, if you got a reverse you want to do, you better get it off right now, because I don't think you have a very good chance.
But
Go ahead.
it felt like after that play, and Kevin even said, yeah, you feel like an idiot when it blows up that badly.
Of course.
But it really, if you go back and look at the play calling, and it felt in the moment like the Browns said, you know what, screw it. We're going to run the ball.
Yeah.
We're going to line up, and we're going to run the ball. And they did it with Kareem. They did it with Nick.
Yep.
And they got the
But here's the thing, guys. Let me get two things in here.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, to your point of why haven't we seen this all year? This is the NFL. Okay?
Yes.
Basically, 27 out of 32 teams are inconsistent every week.
Yes.
That's just the way it is. So, first of all, the Browns, no team is capable of playing the way they played every week.
Right.
Even the best teams don't really play that well. The Browns played at an absurd level.
Right.
They're not that good that they should play that well every week. Doesn't mean they can't win
True.
a lot of games. Number two, what's remarkable is, for all the talk about the running game, if you had to grade the Browns last night, pass defense, run defense, pass offense, run offense, I'd put the run offense last of those four avenues in terms of how they performed yesterday.
See, but here's the problem. See, not so fast, my friend, in my little
ahead.
Corso voice.
Yeah.
You see, it's not just about how many carries or whatever the situation is. You got to look at it at the way you're intentional about running the game. See, it's a mindset, right? And people miss the emotional part of the game. When you're on defense, and I've been in both, where you got a great offensive player or you got a great teammate on the other side of the ball that is just good. You know how good he can be. When he is moving and when you make an emphasis to say they're going to get him involved, what it does, it gives you that energy, that synergy of saying, okay, guys, we got to get this dude the ball back. Hey, guys, hey, look, we running Chubb today. They can't stop me. He coming off to the sideline after he break a couple little runs. It gives you that leverage. You're like, look, dude, we got to go out and do our part. You know, Chubb is running. The coaches is giving the ball to one of our best players. Now we running. That gives
the point is he's had much bigger games this year in the first three quarters than he did yesterday.
But here's the thing: it's not about the yardage. It's not about he has bigger quarters this way or that way. They committed to it. Not only did they commit to Nick Chubb, they committed to Kareem Hunt. Mm-hmm. You saw Kareem Hunt getting touches. Now they're like, oh, it's about the identity, who you are. I don't got a problem if you come out there and you run the ball and they stop you, because the Bengals did a good job to me in stopping them. But my thing is, if you're going to be about that life, if you're a run team and they stop your run, clap it up for them.
One more credit to the offensive line too. Reminder how beat up they are.
Yeah.
Here's some of the guys who played last night on offensive line. Ethan Poe's sick.
He's been playing well. Center.
Hajat Frodo Holt.
What's his name? What'd you call him?
Teller right
Michael
guard.
Dunn, Drew Forbes, and James Hudson. So, like, these guys, they're also they're playing pretty dinged up, too, and still moving these guys.
Well, they still had 4 of their 5 starters on the offensive line.
Yeah.
They were using some extra guys on plays.
I love
and
that.
the offensive line did a great job.
Yeah.
They do deserve full kudos. Haagen-Dazs there, who's playing right
That's
tackle.
his name,
That's
Haagen-Dazs.
what we're calling him.
Haagen-Dazs.
Not Froholt.
Okay,
we're
got it.
calling him Haagen-Dazs.
Haagen-Dazs.
He's done a great job. We haven't called his name once since he's been filling in, so we didn't call Pochich's name. When I'm not calling your name on the offense, the only name we've really called on the offensive line is Jedrick Wills.
Yes.
They called out a lot.
That's about it.
They showed them really moving.
They did certainly, but I'm just talking in general. When we don't hear the offensive lineman's name, that means they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
And PFF grades offensive linemen. I know we're not married to the PFF grades.
I like PFF. I don't care what other people say.
Yeah.
I think it's generally good. But
this is their offensive line grades for the Browns yesterday. You ready?
Yeah.
Pochich was the highest grade offensive lineman in the league in Week 8 with a 94 grade. He's been phenomenal in a Browns uniform. Batonio, 93, the third highest grade offensive lineman in the league. Brissett had a 90. Michael Dunn with an 86.
Brissett had a 90?
91 overall PFF grade.
Oh, I thought you were just doing offensive linemen.
Well, 7 of the top 8 are offensive linemen, is my point. Then you get Michael Dunn had an 86. Jedrick Wills had an 85. James Hudson had a 71. Froholt had a 65, and Conklin was the lowest graded at a 63, which was still higher than 4 of the 5 Bengals offensive linemen. They were phenomenal. And here's a quote from James Hudson. This is from Zach Jackson, or not a quote, but take tag full sleeve. This is what I think is really cool about this Browns team. They were rewatching and re-celebrating that block in the locker room, according to Zach Jackson.
That was an all-time
I
block
talked to
there.
James,
which was an awesome block.
I talked to James about that block after the game, and I told him, like, you took that man's soul. I still don't know who he hit.
It was a linebacker.
Yeah.
I can't
and he didn't even know. That's what he said. I said, who was he?
He's happier that we don't know.
I don't know. It was some linebacker.
Yeah.
I mean, he pulled and he steamrolled.
I said, was that the first time you've ever been like in motion on a play? He goes, oh yeah. He loved it. He had a blast doing it. And he said it was the best hit of his career.
Did you see him real quick? Did you see him run away from that block like Shaq after the Kobe alley-oop? He was running around pointing up like that was.
That is a highlight for a lineman.
Exactly. That's a
highlight. Yeah.
That is a grand slam.
Yep.
You get that, it's over. Like you don't. This is the league. You don't take nobody off their feet.
He should get a poster made of it. Like he's blocking somebody.
That was the play. They had 8 linemen in the game. 8 on that play.
Your boy Jeff was trying to argue with me that it was 7 last night.
No, it was all linemen.
8.
That's
it was
how
8
you.
linemen.
That's how you know they was married to the run game.
Because they had 7
is
on
an
the
eligible
line.
receiver.
Because they had 7 guys on the line and then Drew Forbes as a fullback on that play.
That just means you know what we're gonna do to you, but you can't stop it. And if you're a D lineman, I've been in that situation. It's the most demoralizing, emasculating situation ever. That you got all these grown men on the other side, plus Nick Chubb. You know good and well you ain't got nothing for that. Okay. It's just so I was encouraged by the fact. I even liked the fact that he snapped the ball to Nick Chubb. We have never seen that. I thought he was creative. I thought he did what he needed to do. And by the way, I thought he was very calculated because they was up 8. They went for the 2. I said, okay, he's not playing. I like the fact that it only came. It was 1 yard. He said, okay, they jumped off.
After the 12 men,
yes.
we'll take the penalty, move it to the 1.
When it got up 8, it felt big because it felt like this is going to be meaningful because the Bengals couldn't move the ball the first couple of plays. Right. I was like, oh, this is meaningful. And then he got the 3 before halftime.
Well, but then what was huge is that the Bengals get the turnover.
That's where
they're driving. You're thinking maybe they're going to go in for 7. They have an easy field goal that McPherson misses, and then the Browns quickly go down and get a field goal. So instead of 8-7 or 8-3 at halftime, it's 11-0, and it felt like more than that.
Game changer. That changed the entire momentum of the game. And because, again, Jacoby played really well last night.
Yeah.
But there was the one catastrophic play where he gets the ball knocked out. I thought he was trying to throw it away. Replay showed it looked like he got his arm hit.
Yeah. They called it an interception first, and then they changed it to a fumble.
Yeah.
Not that it matters,
all right, whatever. So Bengals get the ball, and you're right. Zach Jackson and I are in the press box going, well, here it is. Like 8-7 at the half now. Bengals are going to punch this in.
Yep.
To come away with no points, for Cade to kick, I think, a 55-yarder at that point, rebuild
especially
after getting 2 blocked, the one last week and then the first one last night blocked, to get points out of that, and then come back at the start of the third quarter and get points again to get the double dip. It felt like it really changed the momentum of the game.
By the way, did anybody else notice this? I'm sure. I feel like nobody else would have noticed this, but I was when McPherson misses the field goal. It didn't get blocked. He just joked and missed the kick, right? You see, they show Prefer on the sideline like this.
Oh, yeah.
Like his special teams accomplished. He got it done.
He was like,
like, what did you do? The guy missed. You didn't do anything.
Okay, allow the man to celebrate.
No, he sucks at his job. He sucks at his job. And he's homophobic, so he can go F himself.
So he doesn't get joy in his life. He's bad at his job.
He's a bad person, and they should fire his ass. They should have never hired him in the first place.
It's not that he's celebrating that his special teams did something. It's that
he said people should be shot to the moon a long number of years ago. He's a bad human being.
How many number of years ago?
4 or 5, 6,
okay,
whatever.
That's
in the last decade.
That's much too recent.
In the last decade.
Much too recent. I was going to say, remember Jackie Gleason used to say, hey, one of these days, Alice, pow, right in the kisser. Yeah. He threatened to punch his wife. But we all celebrated him.
Right.
He's like the voice of. But
speaking of which, totally off track, we've taken us, but I'm going to stick with it for another second before we get back to the mouth. I was just discussing with some friends yesterday how in the 80s there was a movie called Soul Man, where C. Thomas Howell wore blackface and was pretending to be a black guy.
Yes.
And like nobody thought anything of this.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's crazy.
I mean, there was a guy named Archie Bunker.
He did blackface too.
I mean, this guy, he did everything.
Culture changes and shifts over time.
Speaking of Archie Bunker, I just saw a picture of Edith Bunker in like a leather bustier with Alice Cooper a minute ago. How crazy is that?
I
just happened to randomly see it on Twitter as I was scrolling through. They had a picture of it. I don't know why.
We are 19 minutes in the show. We've discussed blackface, Edith Bunker, and Alice Cooper.
Leather bustier.
It's Victory Tuesday, baby.
If that's on your bingo card, you
Let's
win.
go.
And
Let's
Anthony's
go.
mom.
It's time for another
Candy.
And
Anthony's mom in an appropriate way.
And
Yes, in a candy way.
We've
And
mentioned someone's mother 5 to 6 times, and it's kind of like,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, Jason, inside the locker room yesterday.
Yep.
Remember last week, yelling and screaming inside the locker room? We wanted to see if that motivated them. It's easy for us to say, well, the yelling and screaming turned them around. Who knows if that's true or a coincidence? You never know. You were in there again yesterday. What was the vibe in the locker room?
It felt like they clinched a playoff spot. Like it was.
Is that bad though?
But
Hey, I'll take it.
Here's why I'll allow it. It saved their season.
Yep.
If they lose that game,
It certainly did.
If they lose that game, knock down the stadium and expand the airport. There's no reason to play.
They should do that anyway.
Well,
not the stadium part, but get
But
rid of the airport.
there, I mean, your
Wait, expand the
season's-
airport? No.
Burke, I'm
Get rid of
making
it. I got it. Sorry, go.
Jeez.
Sorry, bad job out of me.
I'll just leave the jokes to you.
He just
because
bombed it twice for you.
Pour water
it
all
was a
over
good
it.
joke.
Picking it apart.
So anyway, but I mean, if you lose that game, your season's over at the bye. Like you have nothing left to play for.
Yeah.
You're just in purgatory until Deshaun Watson comes back, and then see what you got the last handful of games. They're still in the game now. The music, it's faint, but it's still playing. You've got a chip in the chair. You still have a chance. That's why I think there was so much jubilation. Plus, we all know about all the talking going on in the offseason with the Bengals receivers, Browns defensive backs. Especially Myles, by the end of his press conference last night, I was like, boy, he's really preening. Like, he's really leaning into this. But for the moment, you allow it because, again, 3-5 is much different than 2-6. And driving home last night, I couldn't help but think of the Jets game. And I just wonder if weeks 15, 16, 17, we're going to be saying, if only they fell on the onside kick. Just fall on the ball. Just fall on the ball.
Right.
How much different? You can do this with every game. I understand. But that was a historic
A lot
loss.
of teams, a lot of games, but
Yeah,
that was
but
a
that's
historic
a historic
collapse.
loss. How different is our conversation today if they're 4-4 going into the bye
Absolutely.
over 3-5?
Oh,
But-
yeah.
But
And by
they
the way, they
saved
only
their
have 3
season.
home games left.
That's crazy. They saved their season for the
Yeah.
moment.
Yes.
Celebrate that. They should enjoy it. Go into the bye. Take some time off. You still have something to play
If
for.
you had to bet still at this moment, Browns make the playoffs.
No.
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 In the group text.
But they still have a chance.
Yeah.
In the group text yesterday, I did love the exchange that you guys had when you were saying, and I brought this up last week, if you'll recall.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett's Halloween display.
Yeah.
Where he had the Stranger Things thing, and
Yeah.
and that was more like, I love that he likes Halloween. I love that he's a big kid. All that stuff's fun and stuff. But all that stuff seems more fun when you're winning than when you're losing.
Oh, my God.
And as we discussed in the Halloween thing, when he's walking in dressed as a monster, when he's showing off his
Great
Halloween
show that you
house.
disparaged last week.
Yes, I'm fine with it. It's a kid's show. It's just not for
Not
me. All right, never mind. So, but anyways, we were just saying how
Yeah.
much worse that all would have seemed and looked if they had lost last night.
I was going to light him up if they lost.
Light
and he came
him
in
up.
to the
Because-
press
but
room.
you know
I
what I
let it
mean?
go the first time. He did it. He wore his Grim Reaper costume
Yes.
after a loss to the Steelers.
Yes.
Into
Yeah.
the media room, and I let it go. But I thought if he does this again, I'm going
It's
after
the,
him.
I know.
But
I know what
we
I
don't have
sound
to worry
like.
about
It's
that.
the millennials. It's the millennials. Like the older school guys. They're just like, you don't celebrate that stuff after a loss.
Yeah, they
You
don't be
don't
playing-
get to have fun.
But it's like
unless you're winning. If you're winning, you can do whatever the hell you want. The Chicago Bears made the Super Bowl shuffle, one of the worst things anyone's
Yes.
ever seen.
Yes.
But they were winning, so you're just like, yeah, go for it, man.
Worse than that, by the way, that Joel Bitonio, Jack Conklin commercial last year. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
That was way worse.
Let's bring that out. I'll find that.
We gotta. Have
yeah.
you guys seen that?
Yes.
It's great.
The
That is the
Super Bowl
worst thing
stuff.
ever, and I love
We'll
it.
talk about it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I will say this though, they look like they're kind of having fun in it.
That's true.
You know what I
They
mean?
fund
Like they know
themselves in
it's
a way.
bad, and they're just like, we know how embarrassing this is, but we're
Yeah.
getting $800.
And not only did Myles Garrett do all the Halloween stuff, which you're going to get on him probably if they lose.
Yes.
He also did a lot of talking this week. But
Absolutely.
he backed it up.
Yes, he did.
guys.
Yes.
Best game of the year.
100%. He played great. He set the tone early with that big sack with the
Yep.
tip that leads to the pick. He was huge last night.
Well, a lot of these kids don't be listening to nothing we be saying. Like, they in a whole nother generation. Like, they be out there doing little stuff. They be trying to have fun. Like, contrary to popular belief, that stuff doesn't hinder you from going out and playing.
No.
Like if Myles Garrett wears a cape and a Dracula fangs every week,
Yeah.
his ass can still get blocked. Like that don't got nothing to do with me putting hands on you. You could get blocked, you could be terrible,
Yeah.
or you could go play well. So, but I think I like the fact that I saw two or three people with that level of emotion. My problem with the Cleveland Browns is when you don't play with emotion on defense, you can be level-headed and be an offensive lineman or a receiver or a quarterback, but that crap don't work on defense, man. I hadn't seen nobody in nobody's faces. I hadn't seen nobody getting any dust-ups on the sideline. I didn't even see coaches yelling at each other, right? That type of energy, you need it. You need somebody to be like, this is unacceptable. We got to get this thing done. And some people lead by example. So I think when he was talking, he put the pressure on himself because he knows what everybody else is going to say if you didn't perform. But he did what he's supposed to do. He put the pressure on himself. And when he plays with emotion, if he's going to get Taki to play like that, wear your capes. If you're going to get Emerson to play like that, I'm all for it.
Yeah,
go
vampire fangs, whatever you want to put in.
But be Frankenstein the whole year. Mm-hmm. But I like, that's the energy that they played with. You can tell on TV which team, and you can always tell this. Whenever you watch TV, watching a football game, you can always know which team came to play and which team got that little, like, I'm up for this game. You know it within the first quarter. Mm-hmm. And you saw the Browns playing, and I looked at the Bengals and was like, hey, y'all going to be for a long one after that first quarter because it's 2 minutes left in the first quarter. No score. I said, oh, y'all needed to get 10-14 for the Bengals. Mm-hmm. And when the Browns jumped out to that lead, I said, oh, they're for a long night. And it was.
Bengals scored, or nobody scored any touchdowns against them in the second half until yesterday.
The Browns scored 3.
Three? Was it 3? Yeah, 3 touchdowns.
In the second half,
Yeah.
Bull, you mentioned earlier about the dust up in the locker room last week that had nothing to do with the performance. I don't think it did. For whatever reason, getting their ass kicked by the Patriots seems to wake up this defense. It did last year. They got their pants pulled down last year in Foxborough, and it was a completely different defensive unit the second half of the season.
Yeah.
And they got embarrassed again. It was a horrible loss against New England here at home a couple weeks ago. And I mentioned this yesterday, and part of the reason I picked the Browns to win. You saw some glimmers of hope against the Ravens, the way that they were able to contain Lamar, the way that they forced the turnover late in the game and gave the offense a chance to win. They should have won that game. They should have won at Baltimore. There was enough there to make you think, okay, maybe they're starting to figure some things out. That translated into last night. It carried over into last night. There was never a point where you throw your hands up and go, what is John Johnson doing? I never threw my hands up and said, where's Grant Delpit? What is he thinking?
He made some plays last night.
They did. And you're starting to see this thing come together. And Myles stopped short of saying that the defense has figured it out and turned it around, which he should. They're not there yet. But you're starting to see. I can't explain why it takes a half a season for them to figure it out, and that can't continue. You can't waste a half of a season with awful defensive play.
We should schedule the Patriots for the first game of the year next year.
And just get it out of the way.
Yeah. I do think the defense played basically a perfect game. I don't care that it wasn't. It was a shutout for all intents and purposes. The game was over by the time the Bengals scored.
Yeah.
I don't care about Browns' paranoia. The game was over by the time the Bengals scored.
Yeah.
The Bengals had their passing game was inept. Their running game was inept. They couldn't do anything. And this is without the Browns having their 3 starting linebackers.
But didn't you feel a lot more comfortable with that much more of a cushion with Kevin Stefanski making those decisions, and he seemed a lot calmer, and all those choices seemed better?
I, unlike a lot of people, trust Kevin Stefanski. I think overall he's done a good job in his time in Cleveland. I don't think he's without flaws. I certainly think he deserves some criticism over the time, especially I thought last week in Baltimore and even against New England. I think there's fair criticism sometimes, but I thought he was the right choice. I still think he's the right choice. Ultimately, I think there's questions about his assistant coaching staff. I'm not taking Joe Woods off the hook just because the Browns played a great game on defense yesterday.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't think Prefer's any good. I think he needs to be gone. It didn't really change anything for me on Stefanski.
I do think that was a textbook way that they want to play and close out a game.
Of course,
they have a lead in the fourth quarter. Give it to Nick, give it to Kareem, close out the win. And, Bull, we were texting yesterday.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to make a big deal about Nick got to 20 carries and they won. Folks,
so stupid.
There's not a magic number about 20. If that was the case, just hand it to him 20 times to start the game.
I mean,
no. Hey, where's the stat at? Can we get the stat?
Put it up.
Put the stat. When he gets how many carries?
I will say the stat.
The stat is embarrassing for a couple of reasons.
Throw it out there.
First of all,
I will say the
way
stat.
too small
Hold
a
on,
sample
Bull.
size.
Let me say the stat so people know what stat we're talking about.
Yeah.
When Nick Chubb gets at least 20 carries this season, the Browns are 3-0. When he doesn't, they are 0-5. I will add no more context whatsoever.
Yeah, right.
Context
That
is
stat with
unneeded
no
when you cherry pick
context
stats like
says,
that.
like
100% of the time.
What gets him, it's not about 20 carries.
Right.
It's about the rhythm of the offense. It's about sustaining drives. that puts them in position to give him extra carries.
That's right.
But it has nothing to do with, okay, he got to 20, they're going to win the game.
Yeah,
like,
I feel he had 17 carries in that Jet game. They didn't lose because he didn't get to 20 carries.
He didn't get to
That's ridiculous.
And if he would have ended at 19 carries last night,
right,
they still would have won the game.
He could have ended at 14 carries. They still would have won because they were up 25-0 by the time he had 12 carries.
Yesterday, he almost scored on his, well, he should have scored on what would have been his 15th carry. And I told you he's going to get 2 touchdowns and 15 carries. You talk about pulling your Chubb out, you would have seen me going.
I gave you full credit for the pull. I'll take out my objection. Full credit for the pulling your Chubb out.
You're missing the point. The point is, if you get out of the minutia, it's like, listen, when you have your best player, you want him to have the ball as many times as you can.
Yeah.
But nobody was arguing that.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. I'm saying, if I got Nick Chubb and he could get me 16 carries and still get me 100 yards, me, my little old self, I'm over here. Well, I'm not a math whiz, but if he getting me 120 on 16, if I just go ahead and amateurize that over the length of 10 more carries,
but that's not how it works.
Why don't it work that way?
Just because he got 120 on 16 doesn't mean he's going to get 10 more with every carry he gets. That's not.
But that's why we have an average. That's why we have how many yards he averages a touch, right?
I just think in the NG we obsess too much about the play calling. And the Browns, I don't think, have lost or won any games because
there
of play calling.
were dudes open all over the field.
Yeah, and Jacoby Brissett played great. Jacoby Brissett averaged like 12 yards per attempt.
They should experiment, though. And
we haven't even talked about him at all, by the way.
Get over 20 times.
We are going to talk about Brissett. Sorry to cut you off, Paul. We want to do a ton of Brissett stuff because he deserves a lot of credit.
He was awesome.
And wait till you see some stats, some advanced stats I found. They're going to blow your mind. But Polk, we will get to Brissett. You had the floor.
No. I was just going to say we should just put the stat to rest. Just keep giving him the ball over 20 times until it doesn't work anymore, and then we can stop talking about this.
And if they lose when he gets over 20 carries, I'm not going to be dopey enough to say, well, they lost because he got more. That's stupid.
Right.
Picking an arbitrary number of carries is not the point.
No. What it does, on the defensive side of football, you have to game plan for certain things. So when the Browns come out and they run the ball, they run zone, they run off tackle, they run gap blocking, they run everything up front. They can do everything with the offensive line. So when you come out and Nick Chubb gets the ball 20 times, there's a variation of plays that you automatically have to figure out. And the thing about having Chubb and Hunt in the backfield at the same time is now there was a mismatch somewhere. Because first of all, both of them never go down after the first person hits them. Yeah. So now you got defensive backs, and now you got linebackers that are in a mismatch with these two guys. It's not about how many necessarily, on this play should have ran on this. It's about being committed and making the other team understand you have to come and you got to stop me on this one so that those other people can be wide open.
I just don't buy that they were any more committed to the run yesterday than they were any other game. It's just that they were up so big in the fourth quarter that they piled up the carries in the fourth quarter, which they should and which they will in most games.
The only reason I disagree with you on that is because look at the touches for Kareem Hunt.
Well, they did give Kareem Hunt the ball more. But I think we're just a prisoner of the moment to some degree because the last 2 weeks they haven't run the ball. We could argue they haven't run the ball enough.
I do think Chubb and Hunt need to be on the field more together.
But they weren't anymore yesterday.
Oh, yeah, they were.
They
were.
The whole first
significantly more.
Yes.
Yeah,
they were.
The whole first.
I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but it was because we saw it in the opener, and they seemed to go away from it, and then it came back for a couple plays.
We've all been screaming about that.
Last night felt like the most. I don't have the numbers, but
I'll look up to it. But Jason's right. It was by far the most they've done since
Carolina.
Funny because it didn't seem.
And I've talked to guys in the locker room who say like, without a fullback on the roster, Kareem can be that fullback.
Yeah, I don't know why. We've all talked about that. That's been the biggest complaint. I think the fairest complaint.
And I do feel like they committed to the run last night again after the Amari pick. It felt like there was one or two drives where they said, we're just going to line up with our big bad boys and we're going to run right at you.
Which is smart. But it's not the first time this year they've done it.
And it just felt like it settled things down. And Kevin's like, you know what? Screw the trickery. Let's just go right at them. And
go ahead, Mikey.
Can I make a prediction real quick?
Before you do, let me tell everybody, subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We have 17,200 and change subscribers right now.
Wow.
And you could also become a member. And you could have emojis. Who doesn't want an emoji of Mikey McNuggets looking pretty goofy? Or Jay with his hands behind his head.
Mikey
or my
McNuggets,
giant face with a weird smile.
Mikey McNuggets
or
looks
G
like
with a
he's
sly
getting,
look on his face.
Mikey McNuggets looks like he's at the proctologist right now, getting a finger up the keister.
I plead the fifth.
That's special video content starting for coaches tier members tomorrow, right, Mike?
We couldn't
Yeah,
fit
that's the
Jay's
plan.
elbows into that emoji. You
Bro.
guys, come on.
Had to cut it.
McNuggets look like his doctor just told him what a colonoscopy is. What?
Make sure you subscribe, hit the like
Yes,
button, hit the bell.
subscribe,
Let's go.
like, buy some T-shirts.
Go ahead,
We
Mikey.
appreciate
What do you got?
99% of you, Bull. That was for you. Prediction, and this is going to come from Hayden Grove in a couple of weeks. When the Browns lose a game that Chubb gets 21 or 22 carries, the goalpost is going to move to when Nick Chubb gets 23 carries, the Browns are 2-0 and 0-6. It's just going to keep moving to whatever that arbitrary number is.
In fairness, and I'm partly to blame, we're talking about this stat too much. And we're talking about
I put it in the rundown
We're
today,
arguing about the
specifically with
minutia
Bull's
of
name next to it.
Nick Chubb carries too much. But I do think we need to give some love to Jacoby Brissett because he was outstanding yesterday. He barely obviously the fumble, he kind of screwed that play up, and I don't think he made a bad pass all night. He only had 4 incompletions, or I think it was 4. 2 he threw away.
And
1 was a ball that Amari Cooper dropped.
Should have had.
I can't remember the other one. There was another incompletion with Amari Cooper.
I think Amari Cooper had that one
Maybe
too.
dropped 2.
Yeah.
But was that the best game Jacoby Brissett's ever played? And he still only had 230 yards because that's kind of what he
Jason,
does.
before you go,
Yeah.
I have some stats that I need to show you guys.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Let's cut right to 12. And to answer your question, Bull, it is the best game he's ever played. No, not 12.
Oh, boy.
Is that what
Screwed
12
that
is?
one up, Mikey.
Not 12.
Oh, man. We got to
There we
start
go.
the
This is
show
12.
over now.
Okay. Against the blitz yesterday, he was pressured on 50% of his dropbacks. Against the blitz, he was 9 of 11 for 177 yards and a touchdown. Take tag board full here. It is the highest rated passing score of any quarterback in any game this season, according to ESPN Next Gen Stats. Unbelievable performance by Brissett. And on Fence questions last week, one of the questions was, will Brissett score 2 total touchdowns? Unanimous no from the panel. And he did.
Guys, he was sensational. Jason,
Yeah, he
you've been the
was.
hardest on him. I've been right there with you. But he was sensational.
Yeah, I thought I've said all year long. I thought he's played well all year. Certainly exceeded my expectations.
Me too.
But he always had the catastrophic play at the end of games, and it was bad interceptions, bad throws. He was great. Then you need him, interception. And
Played with a lead this time.
Played with the lead, with a comfortable lead this time. Played
Easier
a
to be
terrific game.
confident.
Full credit to him. Made all the right reads, made all the right throws, made some great throws, put it on some guys.
Took some hits.
And
he took that one hit. I thought he was going out, and I thought Dobbs was going to come in.
Like, again, let's take this back to last week on the touchdown drive that got called back. He had a great third down throw down the sideline to DPJ. He had a great throw, put it right on Amari in the end zone on the play that got called back that shouldn't have been called back. That was a bad call, or they win that game as well. So he's really been coming on. He avoided the catastrophic mistake last week, avoided the catastrophic mistake last night. It could have been at the end of the first half. It wasn't. He played great. He deserves all the credit for it.
Another thing he should get a ton of credit for that he's been great at this year, along with the offensive line, is getting that 1 yard on a 4th and 1. Like you know it's
He's
coming.
a big guy.
And at this point, they know it's coming, and he gets it every time.
First time I stood next to him, I'm by no means big, but his stature, like, he's imposing.
Yeah.
He's a lot bigger than I thought he was. He's hard to bring down. He's not fast,
right?
But he's tough enough. He's big enough. It's hard for defenses to bring him down.
And he has a strong arm. Some of them plays, he throws the ball in tight windows.
It's a better arm than I thought. Early in the year, we were talking. There were guys open down the field, and I thought he can't get it there. He can't get it there.
Right.
And his arm is better. I'm not going to say it's really strong, but it's better than I thought it was.
Yeah, there's a lot of he's the reverse of Donovan Mitchell, right? Like, Donovan Mitchell, I thought he was good, but I didn't know he was that good. Like, Jacoby Brissett, he has some different things. Like, he's shown me some mobility. It's not the cutest, it's not the prettiest thing in the world.
It takes a while to watch him, like, get his locomotion going when he's trying to, like, when you see that he's got a lane and you're just like, come on, and then you see him see it and he's just like, here we go. I'm good. You know, but it's not exactly swift, but he gets there.
He takes a while to get going, but and He was great under pressure. And, guys, even that throw late, which, the game wasn't in doubt, but that throw late to Amari Cooper, where Amari Cooper made the diving catch. That was a great throw.
Yeah.
And Amari Cooper made a great catch, but it was also a great throw.
And for the, let's pull this out now for a second, the 30,000-foot view.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Jacoby Brissett's a perfect backup quarterback. So when Deshaun Watson comes back, I would like to see them be able to hold on to him. My problem with Jacoby was when the suspension went from 4 to or 6, went from 6 to 11. I thought, okay, you need to upgrade that. When it was 6, I was like, okay, you can get by with Jacoby for 6 games. It was that gap from 6 to 11 where I had a lot of concerns. But in terms of him as your long-term backup, I think he's
question
perfect.
for you. Why did we only sign him to 1 year? Why would you not want him for a second year after, especially, he's had that experience. He's willing to come in as a backup because he's coming in already as a backup and knowing that. Why didn't they do a 2-year with him?
Probably, and I don't know this, I'm guessing he probably wanted 1 year.
Yeah.
Because he knew he was going to have an opportunity to play.
Yeah.
And he played well.
And he played well. Now he can enter free agency again. Maybe there's a starting job out there for him. I doubt it, but maybe.
Right.
Maybe there's
Did the
another
Browns
where
drop the ball, though, by not meeting whatever the price was to keep him here for that second year?
No, because they can always bring him back.
Jacoby could end up in one of those situations. He's not going anywhere where he's the definite starter, but he could go to somewhere where he's competing for a starting job.
Yeah,
there's on a team that doesn't have a better option.
There's always 1 or 2 teams at the bottom who are looking for a guy.
That's what Baker's doing next year. That's what Sam Darnold's doing next year.
A Geno Smith type guy where he get a chance. He started before. Get in. Try to do something.
But Baker was playing the last year of a contract.
Right,
but
yes.
As opposed to we just brought him in for 1 year as opposed to 2.
I think both sides want to feel each other out. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they get something done to bring him back next year as Deshaun's backup.
And I'll tell you this, and you said it, man. A lot of people were down on the Browns. I was down on them, and you'll be surprised how much a win like this helps.
Oh, yeah.
Because now you can start thinking about it. You can start envisioning. Now I can say, okay, well, I got Deshaun Watson. Can I imagine Deshaun Watson with some of this stuff? Yeah, I can imagine it.
Yeah.
Because Jacoby Brissett is executing this stuff. I'm saying, well, what happens when you get a guy with an arm, mobility, accuracy, all of that stuff mixed with the two running backs that we got? And that's why I thought this game was so pivotal. Because it gives fans hope of saying, all right, we go play Miami after the bye week. You might get Teller back.
All we need is a glimmer.
With those guys, I would assume, would both be back. Which,
I would think so.
The math doesn't have to be probable for us to want to stay on board. And we're just, it's that lotto ticket. You're paying for hope. And last night, a lot of empty seats at Monday Night Football at a Browns game. I will notice. And a lot of response from Cincinnati fans whenever they would score. There were a lot of Cinci fans there yesterday,
That's not uncommon for these interstate games like that.
I know, but how about an interstate game with thousands of empty seats up in the 500s?
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm saying is that if they would have lost that game, it wasn't going to get any more full for their next home game.
It was over.
You know what I mean? That was going to be over. So that's why it was such an important win. The fan base was already on the ledge.
Yes.
And if they would have lost that game, and now we got a bye week to also to where we can't lose. So that's an extra week. Extra week of goodwill.
If you watch other teams lose, you're like, okay, the Bengals, they on bye, or Bengals, Steelers, Ravens. Well, so
some of them got to lose.
Some of them got to lose.
So we get to watch. We get to watch somebody stumble, hopefully in the standings a little bit. That's 2 weeks that the Browns just earned themselves of this city's goodwill that they would not have had otherwise.
Guys, it's still a very tough challenge. They have 9 games, 6 are on the road. They still got Cincinnati again. They still got Baltimore again. They still got Buffalo, and they still got Miami.
And Tampa.
Which
is a little
but
mess,
Tampa's not as good as we thought.
Right.
The back end of the schedule is pretty weak. Crazier things have happened.
Yeah.
It's still they're going to still have to win at least 6 of their final 9, maybe 7, maybe even 8. I would say 7 they're in. 6 chance, but them going 6-3, 7-2 not likely, but not impossible. They're going to probably have to beat Miami. Because they're probably going to lose to Buffalo, so they probably have to beat Miami and Tampa.
I think they get 2 out. They need 2 out of 3.
Have to win 2 of those.
If you get Miami, you feeling real good about yourself. You feeling like, okay, you're back to 4 and 5. And I think anytime you get to 500, now we probably chalking the Buffalo Bills game up. That's a charge. But I will say this.
But you never know.
If you play this style of football that they playing with defense and running the ball, that travels. You ain't got to do that. That don't got to be That doesn't have to.
But they've only played like this 1 out of 8 games.
I'll tell you right now, if they win Miami, somebody on this set's going to talk themselves into them beating Buffalo.
I guarantee.
No doubt.
Somebody on this set.
Listen.
Somebody on this set is going to talk themselves into beating
all
Buffalo.
depends on how forceful they are.
Yeah.
If Chubb gets 28 carries, I'm all in.
By the way, Miami has not lost a game where Tua played the entire game this year. They're 5-0 when Tua plays the whole game.
He's playing great.
And those
He's playing great.
receivers
ahead,
are like the track team.
Yeah, just to put a little bow tie on the Brissett conversation, I always go back to that Week 1 game against Carolina, and we talked about. Remember the underthrow he had to Amari Cooper?
He was terrible in that Carolina game.
The next gen stats said he underthrew it by 24
McNuggets,
yards.
I'm sorry, I got to stop you. Did you say just to put a bow tie on something?
No, a bow on it.
No, I think he said bow tie. I really do.
Jacoby Brissett could probably rock a bow tie.
I heard
pretty well.
bow.
Okay, that's fine. It's
I
just
think I just
not.
said
That's
put a
not
bow
a
on it.
saying.
We all agree that most people that wear bow ties are D-bags. Do we agree? Yes or no?
Ken Rosenthal wears a bow tie, and he's one of the nicest
I'm
humans
trying to
on the
ridicule
planet.
our director for not
Sorry,
getting the.
please go back to ridiculing.
That's
Paul,
not the
go.
right. That's not the right phrase. You should have said put a bow on it, not a bow
Roll the
tie.
tape. I
And
think
I'm
he said
telling you
bow.
for
Yeah.
future reference.
Thank
he
you.
knows he said bow
By the way,
tie.
he's our producer, not our director.
All right, you're my producer. Sorry, you're right.
Steve,
Sorry,
yeah.
you're my producer.
Well,
Yeah.
to put a conclusion
Yeah.
on this.
Well, I got
Brissett-
one more point to make, so it's not
quarterback?
A quick conclusion.
Go ahead, yeah.
But I just always go back to that Carolina game, and he underthrew Amari Cooper by 24 yards on a rolling to his right crossbody throw to the left corner. And I was like, there's no way this dude's arm is good enough to compete on an NFL level. But then I got some intel that Jacoby Brissett bought 40 boxes of Built Bars using lockdown code 15 for 15%
I
off
heard
on Built
that.
Bars.
Didn't see that
and he
one
got
coming. You got me.
absolutely yoked, started doing the bicep curls, some tricep
I heard
extensions,
that.
and that is why he is now able to throw a 53-yard bullet
Guy can
to
lift
Amari
a
Cooper
truck
on the left sideline.
'cause of Built Bars.
Be like Jacoby Brissett. Be the best quarterback in the league in Week 8 of the NFL 2022 season. Use promo code LOCKEDON.
Surprise everyone.
15% off on Built Bar. And Jason, what's your last point?
Listen, I know I've become
That was good
like
too. Thank
On
you guys.
Jacoby?
that was very good.
It's
No,
not the end of the Browns conversation.
no. Just one thing to mention on this Brissett talk is I know I've become like the Stefanski apologist on the show. That was never my intended role. I defended him. I think you and I are a lot alike. I've been hard on him. I thought he cost them games.
He deserves
at
plenty of
times.
criticism,
Yeah.
sure, but I still like him overall.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I just want to point out, I hate bringing up Baker, but Baker's been an abomination in Carolina.
Yes.
Kevin Stefanski got the best out of Baker of anyone.
Yes.
Kevin Stefanski's getting the best out of Jacoby Brissett of anyone.
He gets the best out of the
Could
worst.
we please stop with he's got to give up the play calling with they're throwing it too much. When he's throwing 45 times and Nick Chubb's running 12 times against the Patriots, that's a problem. That can't happen. I said that when it happened. But by and large, I remember having this conversation last year. Does Kevin Stefanski's system limit his quarterbacks, or does he build a system around limited quarterbacks? Guys, we're getting the answer. Kevin Stefanski builds a terrific system around very limited quarterbacks.
Yes.
So what's it going to look
One
like?
of whom had a broken shoulder a half a season.
I don't want to hear it.
I
I'm
mean,
so
I do.
tired of the
Matters
Oh
to
my
me.
God,
Oh
he
my
sucks
God.
this year.
You know what? This is my fault. I never should have mentioned his name.
I am supporting it. I'm saying he even got a season, half a season out of a guy with a broken shoulder.
But to G's point,
That's what I'm saying.
What will his system look like
A bad quarterback.
when he has the best quarterback he's ever had in his career?
That the franchise has ever had,
That
at
the
least
fr-
talent-wise.
But that Kevin's ever worked with and that the franchise has ever
Right.
had. What will the system look like then?
And by the way, that includes his time in Minnesota.
That's what I'm
where
saying.
Kirk
But
Cousins is better than any quarterback the Browns have had recently, but not better than
And
Deshaun
this is
Watson.
the only point I've been trying to make since the season started. Stop with the Kevin Stefanski. Just stop. He's getting more out of these guys than anyone else has gotten in their careers.
Are people yelling that at you at the street? You seem really mad about it. Are people stopping and going, hey, it's Stefanski's fault. Deal with it. Why are you so...
Sometimes when I make a point, people think I'm angry. I'm not. I think I need to work on my delivery.
I'm actually
it's okay.
angry. He's not really.
Yeah.
It's hard to get. I don't get angry over sports ever.
It is pretty stupid.
I just got to work on my delivery.
Yeah.
No, okay. No,
By the way,
Thanks,
something
man.
we have not
That's all
touched on 48 minutes in the wide receivers. Now, we all know Amari Cooper is very good. He's always been very good. He's always been inconsistent, which has kept him from being great. He had a big game, especially after the early drop. But how about my man, Donovan Peoples-Jones? By the way, if you look at the last 5 weeks, those stats fine. 417 yards on the season is solid. Last 5 weeks, if you take his average receiving yards per game over the last 5 weeks, he'd be on pace for a 1,200-yard season with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. This guy is stepping up into a legitimate number 2 wide receiver. A lot of people were down on him, didn't think he could be a number 2. I think he is. I think with Deshaun Watson, I'm so excited I just traded for him in my keeper league, and I gave up Curtis Samuel, who's a complete fraud. And Donovan Peoples-Jones with Deshaun Watson, I think is going to put up legitimate number 2 wide receiver numbers. G, what say you on that?
Donovan Peoples-Jones, all he does is catch the football. He doesn't have any drops. Nope. I think this is.
Can we get him in the end zone? By the way, he has no touchdowns. Let's get him in the end zone.
He's been close
I like
a few
how
times.
You're so fantasy based.
Yeah, right.
How you want the touches to go?
I think he's gonna be a solid number 2 when Deshaun Watson comes back. I think there's going to be so much stuff open up. That's why I was so against trading Kareem Hunt, because it's for me, it's not that, Kareem Hunt's going to be back or guaranteed. I just want them to understand and to see how it would work or how it would look with 2 great running backs. Maybe that's you talk about Ford. Maybe you're talking about that's Dearness Johnson. Who knows who they're going to have a running back in that situation? But that's why I wanted to have an opportunity to have him still playing with some of these guys so you can see what it looks like. And when you look at Donovan Peoples-Jones, he's catching the ball with his hands. He's not really letting the ball get into his body. Every catch he's made has been contested. He hasn't had very many gimmies over the middle where these are little slant routes and you just catch them and fall down. He has guys over his back. He's going down low to catch the football. He's been great. I couldn't expect more from him. And overall, if you look at those numbers, Amari Cooper's on track for almost a career year, right? He's on track for almost 1,300 yards at this point.
That's what I was going to say is, you're right. He looks like a legitimate number 2 wide receiver right now. But in order to look like that, the reason he does, I think, is because he has a legitimate number 1 receiver, which he hasn't had in the past. He had Odell Beckham for part of the year last year. They never really connected, so that didn't work out. And then what did it become? It was him and Jarvis Landry for the most part holding it down.
Right.
There's no number 1 there.
That's true. The fact
that he has that threat over there that's also producing, and that you have to take care of, that means that he's always got the second best second best on him. And I think that also, obviously, the running game being as dynamic as it's been, then they've got to pay a lot more attention to that. So he's getting probably just single coverage.
You know what's amazing? We'll talk more after we're going to have a DD on in about 10 minutes, and then after that, I want to get into whether the Browns still might trade Kareem Hunt today, because the trade deadline is about a little over 4 hours away. So we'll save that till after a DD. But big picture, you talked about big picture before, Jason. Like, you look at this offense, right, when they have Deshaun Watson back. Now, I don't know, even going into next year, I don't know if they'll have Jacoby Brissett. But as of now, you have what should be a great starting quarterback. Again, 2 years, you might be rusty. You have a great backup quarterback. You have a great number 1. You're great at running back, including your depth. You're great on the offensive line, including your depth. These guys have come in. Yeah. Haagen-Dazs. Yep. James Hudson is. Yep. I think James Hudson is starting at right tackle next year.
Absolutely.
And they're moving on from Conklin.
Yes.
You're going to get Nick Harris back. You got Pochich, who's been phenomenal. So they can not only. Most teams don't even have a good starting offensive lineman, let alone
That's not the
depth.
line that we started the year with.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Njoku this year, especially since week 3, has been outside of the Kelsey and Andrews, has been as good as any tight end in the league. Their tight end depth is fine. You don't need great tight end depth.
Yeah.
And now you got a number 1 wide receiver. I think they, at some point, not necessarily this year, but this offseason, I think you'd like another veteran wide receiver to get in the mix who's like a 2-3 type of guy.
I like that.
But they really need almost nothing on offense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they got to address certainly defensive tackle and some things on defense. But on offense, they have almost nothing to address.
That's why it made sense. If people talk about why did they go after Deshaun Watson, why did they risked a lot to get Deshaun Watson. And the reason why they risk a lot, you saw it play out right now. Deshaun Watson is going to get a quarterback like that in the prime of his career that has that level, that skill set, that has experience. These guys just don't hit the market, right? It's like certain houses in certain areas, right, of the country. Those houses ain't on the market, dog. Mm-hmm. Those guys inside track somebody that already called a realtor. They don't even hit the magazines or newspapers. Those things are already sold. So you got a guy now that you can look at it and say, traditionally the teams who have the most athletic quarterbacks that like to run, they usually lead the league in rushing because those guys hold certain people. Now think about this in the running game. If you a defensive lineman and you have to guard Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and you're running the stretch, right? Guess what? You got to stay home now backside because Deshaun Watson might just take that and walk in the end zone. Right. So he holds backside linebackers. He's holding backside linebackers and defensive ends. And so now you have one less defender in the box to go chase these two monsters and tackle them.
Yeah.
It's so much stuff is wide open. We've never seen RPOs here. Guess what? You'll see them.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see a lot of design stuff like that. And so that's why it opens everything up.
Wasn't running any RPOs?
No.
Are you saying Charlie Fry wasn't running any RPOs?
No, I mean Colt McCoy.
Brian Hoyer?
No.
Connor Cook.
No. We haven't. We have never had a down.
Win.
Deshaun Kaiser.
By the way, I thought Deshaun Kaiser was going to be pretty good.
Thaddeus Lewis.
Well, I thought Brandon Whedon was
Jake
good.
Delhomme.
Yeah,
We can do this all day.
Hey, who was the worst quarterback that you saw that you thought was actually going to be good?
That's
I
a
never
really
believed
good
in
question.
Manziel, so it's not him.
Me either.
Boy, I don't know.
My catfish.
Whedon. Probably Whedon, because I thought Whedon would be okay.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be.
My catfish was definitely Deshaun Kaiser. We stole one.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to be good.
Mine was Whedon as well. Even though, what were we thinking? He was like a 32-year-old baseball player. And we were just like, somehow we talked ourselves
I don't know
into
that his
thinking.
age meant that much. I thought that was being overrated.
See, that's what we were saying
I
at
don't
the
think he
time.
was bad because of his age. I think he was bad because he was bad.
I know, but how do we not see him being bad? Why didn't we see that?
I didn't.
The teams get it wrong. The Browns thought Baker Mayfield was worthy of the first overall
I know,
pick.
but why
Look at all these bad quarterbacks
But why
that
did
get
we
drafted.
all think it was going to be Whedon out of all of them? Why didn't we think it was going to be Brady Quinn?
Then that same freaking draft, they had Trent Richardson, and Trent Richardson was they had told us. Like, you told us he was can't miss. McShay, Kuiper, everybody said, this is Trent Richardson. The Browns finally going back. And this guy got here. They traded him in a year.
By the way, when they traded him, I was on the air. I said it was a great trade by the Browns. The fans were so pissed. Every fan thought it was awful. And then, of course, the Browns blew the draft pick
but
with
it still wasn't.
That
That doesn't make it not a great.
Right. The fact they got a first-round pick for nothing running back.
Who'd they take with that pick? I'm not familiar with that.
I think it was Johnny Manziel, wasn't it?
No.
I don't know.
It was a third pick in the draft.
No, Trent Richardson was a third pick in the draft.
You're right. Yeah, they traded
yeah.
Richardson
Him for-
to Indianapolis for the Colts' first-round pick.
And I think they used it on either Cam Irving or the
Tell us in
center.
the chat, guys. Tell us in
Because
the
they
chat.
had 2 first-round picks.
I'll look it up. I'm just curious.
Or could it have been, what's his name? The guy who was drafted the same year as Johnny Manziel, the DB who was terrible.
Justin Gilbert?
Was it Justin Gilbert?
No.
That was first.
How did they get that pick?
The timeline's a little blurry.
The Gilbert pick, I think, came from Houston and the Deshaun Watson, the original Deshaun Watson trade.
Yeah.
All this hurts.
Oh, yeah.
I think they drafted Cam Irving and Danny Shelton.
God.
Danny Shelton, the king of the JOPs.
Boy, there are so many bad names and bad players. I got a headache.
We done went down this rabbit hole.
It was Justin Gilbert.
I was
Gilbert
right,
was
Justin
the pick.
Gilbert. There you go.
I really do
With the
feel
8th
sick.
pick in the
Oh, no, they got
2014
Denzel
draft.
Ward with the
Started that a great
Watson
pick.
pick.
Yeah.
Do you know who was the first pick, real quick, just for fun? Who was the first pick in that draft?
What year was
What
it
year?
again?
2014.
2014.
I was covering the NBA. I don't know.
Wasn't that Andrew Luck? No.
Jadeveon Clowney.
Oh, yeah.
Huh. Interesting. That's cool.
Not worthy of the first overall pick. Good player. Not worthy of the first overall pick. All right. Dee we're pushing back to 12. Well, we're not. She has to do something, I guess.
She's almost home. She was in Cleveland for the game last night. She's driving back
All
to
right.
Pittsburgh.
So she's going to come out at 12:15. So let's get into the Kareem Hunt thing now then, guys.
All right.
So I think we all assumed if the Browns lost that game last night that they would trade Kareem Hunt today. And I think a lot of people thought, myself included, that if they won, they wouldn't trade him. Josina Anderson this morning. Right now, it's still quiet in Cleveland. Browns went into last night anticipating not being super active at the deadline. My understanding is they prefer to keep Kareem Hunt, just not sure if they'd meet his market desires in free agency. Still, not just going to give him away. Guys, if you feel like you're still in the hunt, and the Browns are still in the hunt, they are 2-1 in their division. We all know it's a major uphill climb for them to make the playoffs. But if I'm only going to get, what do we think is the best case scenario? 3rd round pick? Is it possible?
They're asking for a 4th.
Well, we don't know that that's true. That's been the speculation. What do we think is the best case scenario? Jason, what do you think is the best case scenario?
Probably Fourth probably is the best.
So what's
scenario.
the point of trading Kareem Hunt for a 4th-round pick?
No, I'm against it.
Yeah.
If it's 3 or higher, I think you have to have a serious conversation. But 4th rounder,
So that's your drawing.
a third,
line.
I think I would probably
Third,
go
you
ahead
would
and
do
do
it.
But not. I mean, you can get a starter with a 3rd-round pick. Like you can absolutely get
Emerson's the 3rd
line
round
depth
pick.
and quarterback depth. You can get a player. I think 4th round, it's starting to get a little bit harder. Now you're starting to throw darts a little bit. Although, I mean, we were knocking Andrew Berry earlier. Like Isaiah Thomas, I think was a 7th-round pick. This guy can play. Isaiah Thomas
finally showed up yesterday.
Did he but did his value go up yesterday?
Kareem?
Yeah.
See, I don't buy into that.
He's a great player.
You're not shopping a guy 12 hours before the deadline because if he pulls a hamstring, that's it. You're getting nothing for him. So I don't buy. I know there was 2 thoughts. I don't buy the fact that they were trying to showcase.
Doesn't everybody already know Kareem Hunt's a great player?
Everybody knows who he
If
is.
Kareem Hunt went to the Rams or the Bills or a team where he was going to be the number 1 guy, which he can't be here,
we're all human.
he'd be great.
Maybe you need reminded of it. Maybe you need to see him remind like.
Mike, you trade them? Do you want to?
I gotta believe in him. If he says it's a third, he knows more than I do about this. If you say 3rd-round pick is worth it, then I would say 3rd-round pick is worth it.
G, what do you trade him?
Hell no, I'm not trading for 2 reasons. One reason is you sell into your locker room that we willing to do whatever it takes to win this year. And if you got an opportunity with Kareem Hunt to continue to play with Deshaun Watson, to continue to work and to get any victories that you can, you got to sell that to your team because they going out preaching it. They telling them, hey, guys.
That's a good point.
Total line.
That's a good point.
Total line. We doing everything we can. And if you get rid of Kareem Hunt, they're looking at you like, are we really trying to win? Because you traded him for a 4th-round pick. We cut 4th-rounders around here.
But here's the thing. They have more than capable backups if Jerome Ford's ready to come off IR. Obviously, they like him. He is the Kareem Hunt replacement for next year.
Right.
Dearness Johnson has proven he's more than capable. Kareem Hunt on the Browns is a backup running back. That's it. That's who he is. That's what he is.
And you might as well start getting those guys some reps this year and get them some experience because you know that Kareem Hunt's not going to be here next year.
I'm not trading him. I'm not interested in trading him unless the offer was just too good to refuse. Like
and what's too good to refuse for you?
To me, even like
third is not
a Christian McCaffrey type of offer.
Okay,
because by the way,
that's not coming though. Just be
I
realistic.
know that's not coming, but that's the only way I would do that.
A 2nd-round pick? Would
a
you do
2nd-round pick, I'd trade him.
For a 2nd-round pick, you'd do it.
Okay, but I don't really want to because. If I'm
would for a 2nd-round pick.
I guess I would.
You're putting his value as 2018 Kareem Hunt, and that's not who we have no evidence. We have no evidence that he is 2018, 2019 Kareem Hunt because of injuries and because of the way he's been used.
And my point is,
we all have evidence.
We all have our price.
Zach Jackson yelled at me this morning already once for saying the same thing. Look at the way. Yes, he's still valuable. Yes, of course he's valuable because this is the point I made in the piece I wrote this morning.
Yeah.
If I'm a team trying to trade for Kareem Hunt, like we talked about this in our group chat, the Jets need a running back when Breece Hall went down. They went and got James Robinson for a 6th. Kareem Hunt is a better running back than James Robinson. But if you look at their numbers since the start of last year, James Robinson has outperformed Kareem Hunt. So if you're a team...
Well, what numbers?
Rushing, receiving, and touchdowns.
What do you mean total?
Yeah, total production, total yards.
But James Robinson played a lot.
That's my point.
But I can't judge him that way.
Why not?
Because I think Kareem Hunt has the same skill set that Christian McCaffrey is, and I don't buy that he's significantly worse than Christian McCaffrey.
But if I'm the Bills trying to trade for him,
agreed, Jason, and that's why nobody's going to give up that package, right? But
I think we agree on that.
I think he can make that same kind of impact. But I agree, nobody will give up that package. But if I'm the Browns, coming off what could be a season-changing win, I'm not trading a guy who's a key player on my offense. Even if they used him more and he was a big factor in that game yesterday, and they should use him more. Yes, he's a backup, but there are plenty of teams that use 2 running backs valuably, and the Browns have done it at times.
So you are not trading him unless they offer you a 2nd-round pick.
Man, look.
Right, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, but if they did, you would.
I would begrudgingly do it for a 2nd-round pick.
Okay.
No, not just a 2nd-round pick. I'm talking about the same offer for McCaffrey. They got a 2nd, a 3rd, a 4th,
so
and a 5th.
you have your price.
Again, it's not. Yes, there is a price where I would do it.
Yes.
But I don't think anybody's going to meet that price. But how do you go to the locker room less than 24 hours after this win and say, guys, we just traded Kareem Hunt for a 4th-round pick?
You know how you do it? Because you say, look at his attitude last night. He wants out of here. He doesn't want to be here. We don't want guys.
The players don't care about that.
But listen, but that's what you tell them. You tell them, we don't want guys who don't want to be here. That's how you sell it to them.
See, that's not a selling point because here's the thing. Last year, when they traded OBJ, everybody in the locker room was like, why'd you do that? Why would you trade him? We like him in the locker room. We think you don't use him enough.
And they cut him, right?
And they cut him.
They cut him, yeah.
And then he went somewhere and balled. If you do that 2 years in a row and you hand Kareem Hunt to a contender,
you're not cutting him. You're not cutting, and you have to look at the bigger factor.
But they don't care about that.
And listen, I don't think they're trading him.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I want that on the record.
Yeah.
I don't think he's getting moved.
He's just playing devil's advocate. I hear what Jason.
I'm just saying, you just traded away a bunch of picks to get Deshaun Watson.
So is 1 4th-round pick going to make the difference?
If for a guy you're going to lose it, I said third. I think I would need a third for him.
Okay.
But for a guy you're going to lose at the end of the year anyway, and again, on this team.
You guys are 1 pick apart on this, by the way.
But that's all it takes to make a deal
He
or
said
not deal.
third.
I'm saying second, third, fourth, fifth, same trade as McCaffrey.
Yeah,
I'll take a second, fourth, fifth. I'll give up the third too.
On this team, he is a backup running back. That's it.
He's more than a traditional backup.
But they don't use him as that.
They do.
Not
But
really.
in the last 2 weeks.
Not last year.
But you have to take a look at who he is in this locker room. It's Nick Chubb's best friend.
Yeah.
What?
I think in the end he's not going to get traded.
I think
today.
OBJ was a lot more higher.
I agree with
Kareem.
Yeah,
I do
in
terms of locker room status.
I do agree with that.
Yes.
I think.
And last night, he was a dude who does not want to be here.
I also don't
I don't blame him.
I don't either.
If I were him, I'd want to go somewhere
want
else.
out
I
too.
also don't think Nick Chubb is going to get sad and stop being Nick Chubb if his
Exactly.
friend isn't here
Exactly.
anymore.
By the
Can I
way,
ask you guys a question on this real quick?
Yeah.
We just went around the horn before, and Bull, you asked everybody, do you think the Browns will make the playoffs? And
Yeah.
all 4 of you guys said no.
right.
I know it's tough optically because they just won 12 hours ago and it saved the season. But if they had lost, I think we're all saying you sell them for whatever you can get.
Right, because then the season's over, so what's the difference?
But
coming
my
off this
question is-
win, that's hard to sell in the locker
Agreed,
room.
and I'm not disagreeing that. My question though is, and Jason kind of touched on it, you did just give up 3 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson.
I don't care.
And you do need some draft capital moving forward.
I think that argument's a bad one.
No,
because
it's not. Not in the NFL.
Getting 1 draft pick. You're not making up the 3 first-round picks. You don't need to make it up.
him no matter
you
what,
have Deshaun Watson.
What if that draft pick helps you move up a spot or something too? That's all
Who
still
cares?
draft
You
capital.
I can always make a trade in the offseason to get a draft pick.
But you got to get draft picks
Not
from
a third.
somewhere. You got to get draft picks
You
from
can
somewhere.
get third-round picks.
For giving up something of value.
Hey,
and again, I
They're
would
not
hold on
getting
to
the
him.
third anyway, so it doesn't
And
matter.
here's why I would hold on to him is
Yeah.
because of the optionality that it gives you. Because
Jason,
what if Nick Chubb has a catastrophic
Exactly.
injury next
Exactly.
week?
Right.
It changes the entire conversation that you're having around
It could
Kareem
even
Hunt.
change the conversation you have in the offseason.
So,
Isn't there-
so this is why,
Yeah.
I don't want to trade him. I don't think he will be traded.
Right.
But if a team offers me a third for him, I'm trading him.
You know why I wouldn't do it? Because any team that's doing that is finishing in the bottom, so it's like the 100th pick in the draft. I don't care about the
They
100th
got
pick in the
Martin
draft.
Emerson in the third
So
round.
hold on. But you got to start putting names to these third rounds. You say, okay, well, who's in the third round? So you traded Kareem Hunt for Jordan Elliott. You traded Kareem Hunt for Anthony Schwartz. These are threes.
Kareem
you
Hunt
gave
for
one good
Martin
one.
Emerson.
Right,
Like,
but we can give you a ton of guys that
of
screwed up in
course,
the
it's
third
a
round.
crapshoot. But
You're
I'm
right.
saying, if you know what you're doing and if you can draft well, and their record is spotty, but I firmly believe the longer a GM is in a position, the better they get at drafting. We just haven't experienced that yet because these guys get
Agreed,
fired after
but
a year
teams
or
get
two.
it wrong all the time.
Of course
and,
they do.
And there's other ways to get
But
players,
this-
and the Browns don't need a ton of players, in my opinion.
If you're going to lose him at the end of the year anyway, if
Yeah.
you can get a 3 for him, you move him for a 3. I don't think it's going to happen.
I
but
will
would
agree
do
to
it.
disagree.
And I think his part.
but I agree with you that it's not going to happen.
I think Mikey's point
Yeah.
was we all agree that they're not making the playoffs, so we're hanging on to this guy even though
Who
we
you're gonna
know
lose
that
at
we're
the end
not.
of the year
who we
anyway.
know we're going to lose at the year
But
anyway.
aren't they? By the way, aren't they going to get a compensation pick for him?
That's
the
a
year
good
after?
point.
Compensatory
I
pick,
wanted to ask
but
about
it will
that.
probably be you get it the following
year, but
and it's based on contract what he gets. He's not going to get a ton, so it's probably going to be a 5th, 6th, 7th
pick.
round compensatory
Okay.
pick.
All right.
You got a little best case, worst case. Best case is you do a third round pick, you get somebody that's a contributor, you move all everybody up, Dearness Johnson and Ford. But guess what? The worst case scenario in which you could lose a whole locker room is Nick Chubb gets injured. He's gone. You just traded Kareem Hunt
Then you're screwed.
to a contender, and now you have Dearness Johnson as your running back, and people are looking at you like
And
you're
Anthony
a fool.
Schwartz backing him up.
Even though if we all had to bet, we bet they don't make the playoffs. I think we all agree that the door is open a little bit,
Sure, yeah.
right? And so I'm not giving up that hope by trading one of my most talented players,
I don't
even
think
if
you
he's
are.
not as
I don't think you are.
I think you are. I think you are. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Even if he's not used as much by the Browns as maybe he should be, and certainly would be by other teams because he'd be the number one guy.
I got one more argument for keeping him on the team.
Yeah.
It's not about draft picks. It's not about him helping us go to the playoffs or anything like that. I'm a Browns fan, and I like watching him play. He's fun to watch play. And I want to watch players play that I think are fun to watch play, and that guy's always a hoot. It's entertaining. I came to be entertained, and I like watching that man play. And if I have however many more games of watching him play, then I'll pay for that. So that's one more reason, one more argument for the man.
If you're a Chicago Bears fan right now, right? They came off that, I know they lost last week, but the week before they come off that big win of the Patriots. Mm-hmm. They're playing they're not very good, but they're 3-5. They're hanging in there. And they've just traded a bunch of guys. Like, if you're a fan and the team's been bad a while, and it feels like you're giving up on the season. And trading Kareem Hunt is not a white flag on the season because they still have, one player who is a backup is not ending the season. But it feels that way. And It feels that way to the fan base, which you can't make trades for the fan base. But sometimes it's not just about looking at the analytics. And I'm a big analytics guy. I'm always fighting for analytics.
Yep.
But the smart GMs find that balance of human and analytics.
Does he?
And in this case, I think trading Kareem Hunt coming off that win, even though I'm sure he'd like to be on a team where he'd be the starter, because if he went to Buffalo, my God, he'd be fantastic.
I know,
the Rams,
scary.
he'd be fantastic. And he could be here if Nick Chubb wasn't here, but he is. So
it comes down to this, does he give you a better chance of you making the playoffs with him on the roster?
I think so.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. I'm going to roll with it.
Yeah. Mikey McNuggets.
So I was not advocating for trading Hunt, for the record. I was just pulling it out there.
Yep.
Other question, there's a couple other guys who may be on the trading block for the Browns as we wait for Aditi. Do you think Greedy Williams survives the 4 or 5
I don't
p.m.
care.
deadline?
I don't even think he's worth discussing.
Do you think they make any moves?
Why would anybody give up anything for Greedy Williams?
Yeah, he's going to hit free agency.
I mean, why would anybody
He had food
he
poisoning
can't play
last night.
What
He
does
was
he
on
do?
the bench most of the night. He had food poisoning.
Wait, some bad clams or
He
something
said he
before
had
the game?
bad seafood on Wednesday.
Huh.
I've never heard of food poisoning
Kicking in.
Bad
that
6
much
hours.
later.
Do they make any moves? Add somebody?
I mean,
guess
always playing.
Obviously, I didn't hear the broadcast. Did Joe Buck mention something about Jack Conklin being on the trade?
Yeah, he did.
Joe Buck mentioned that.
Curious. Yep. That's curious. Because I hadn't heard that. But
hey, you know what?
Somebody told him that for him to take it to the
I'd
air.
rather them trade Conklin than Kareem Hunt.
Because you can slide James Hudson from what we've seen.
James Hudson's looked great whenever he's been out there.
He has.
Yeah.
Conklin was a little banged up. He came out.
He's always hurt, Conklin.
And he's not back next year
We
either.
were not saying that about Hudson last year either.
At the end of the season, the Steelers game at the end of the year, he got really wrapped.
Brutal.
So, yeah.
Wait, was Hudson the one that they accused him not being able to block T.J. Watt? They kept leaving him one-on-one?
They kept leaving him in single coverage.
That was Hudson?
I mean, yeah. So that
how much better he's played
that
this
shows
year.
the coaching, I think.
Callahan's a goat.
Yep. And somehow I also want to credit Joe Thomas for that for some reason. Just for the hell of it.
Go ahead.
By the way, is Jedrick
Joe
Wills getting his 5th-year option picked up?
Yeah, I think he is.
Think so?
Yeah. Because
who you going to put there?
you have much more pressing needs on the defensive side. You have limited assets now. You're not going to find a left tackle in free agency who's any better than him.
Yeah. He's been their worst offensive lineman.
Okay, but is he really killing you?
No.
I had this conversation this morning with Ken and Lima on their show, and I just flippantly threw out to Zach as we were leaving the press box.
Do you throw in when you're on this show, when you're on with those clowns?
Oh, yeah.
Or good?
I like the show I'm not allowed to talk about. That's what I said.
So absurd.
Can I ask you a personal question real quick?
Ridiculous, yeah.
What is it like being a host in Cleveland on a Browns-related show?
Yeah.
And having your team be owned by the Cleveland Browns so thoroughly.
That's crazy.
I'm glad you asked that question.
I want to know, really.
It's a weird reaction. I don't like when the Bengals play the Browns.
We were talking about this yesterday after the show.
I really don't like it because it just, I don't know. I hated when the Cubs played the Guardians and the Indians in the World Series. I hated that. I wish
we hated it too at the end there.
I really wish the Cubs had played somebody else and then the Indians had won it the next year.
Yeah, you're in a bad spot here.
It's not even that because I'm not like a phony. I'm not going to pretend.
Right.
Like when the Bengals.
I know that.
When the Bengals lose to the Browns, I was pissed off watching the Bengals because they played like garbage.
Right.
But I don't get as sad for whatever reason when, like, I don't really get as sad as I did when I was younger. When the Bengals
I'm the same
lose.
way.
I'm excited when they play well and win, but I don't get that bummed when they lose.
Yeah.
But except for the Steelers, I hate when they lose to the Steelers. But I was also, the only thing I care more about than my teams is being right. Ultimately, nothing matters more to me than being right.
Right.
And I want to be right about Kevin Stefanski when so many others have jumped off the Stefanski bandwagon.
Right.
So even though there's the half, like the fandom in me wanted the Bengals to win, but the other half of me wanted the Browns to win.
It's almost a win-win, lose-lose.
It kind of is when they play each other. For me. It's a weird. I don't like it.
I can imagine it being a weird mix.
It would remind me of being in 2 fantasy leagues or 3 fantasy leagues.
When you got guys
where you got Jalen Hurts on one squad, and then so you're playing against Jalen Hurts. You're like, but I want him to play well.
I know.
But I can't want him to play well that much. It screws the whole.
Well, I had Lamar Jackson in my keeper league 4 years in a row, so it was like always. But speaking of which, with fantasy, to make fun of myself a little bit, but like selfishly, I do want Kareem Hunt to get traded because I have him in 2 leagues, and he's going to be a lot more valuable if he goes somewhere else. But for the Browns, I don't want him to be traded, so I'm going to, that's what I want.
Crazy.
I don't want him to be traded.
Yeah.
So.
You don't believe, though, that do you think you assume that Jason's thing is right about it just being a mathematical anomaly, the fact that
it's weird.
The Bengals haven't done well against the Browns.
But they only haven't done well in the last couple of years.
Right.
For a lot of years before that.
Since the Bengals got good. That's what's so weird.
But the Bengals only been good for 2 years.
And that's when they've just
But it's only 2 games. The second game last year, the Bengals played all their bench players.
The game where OBJ blew out his knee. They won that one.
They won that one.
It still has to be.
You talking about
when Baker
2 years
25,
ago.
25.
Yeah, but the Bengals weren't any good that year. The Bengals were awful in 20.
The COVID year? Were they terrible in COVID?
Yeah, they ended up with the 5th pick in the draft. That's how they got Jamar Chase.
All right,
I wonder if
but in the last 2 years, the Bengals and Browns, I just spit on you, G, sorry.
Oh, it's good.
In the last 2 years, the Bengals and Browns have played 2 legit games.
Yeah.
And in those 2 legit games, the Browns have destroyed them.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's enough of a sample. Like, this whole one team owning the other.
I don't believe it either.
I just don't believe
I don't
in
believe it
general.
either.
Like, I think that's silly.
I don't
Mikey
believe it either.
McNuggets was spreading conspiracy theories that the Bengals are, like, already beat when they come to the stadium. I don't buy that. But
it is odd that it was last year. They're the team that went to the Super Bowl last year.
The more it gets in their head.
That's it. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy to a degree.
Yes.
He still has a monkey on his back because he hasn't beaten the Browns. And at first, I think it is just math, and I think it's just like they just happen to play bad. Time's up. But then these guys are impressionable. I think there's a lot of psychology to this because we've seen it with this Browns team.
I can't explain it. But the Browns have played their 2 best games by far the last 2 years are against the Bengals.
Yeah. I just think when you look at the Bengals, like they're like a man with no country, so to speak. Like they have the capabilities of playing like the Bills, right? We just gonna throw the ball. We don't care what you say.
Right.
But they also have a guy who they went to the Super Bowl, and Joe Mixon. He had the best year of his life or something. Yeah. So you look at it, you're like, okay, you come into this year, and you're like, okay, so what do we want to do? I heard him talking about it before the game. He said, we're still going to run a lot of 3 receiver sets because that's just what we do, even if we don't got Jamar Chase. So if you're gonna be married to the past, hell, just get back there and do it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, first of all, it's only 1 game, so I don't want to get carried away. But from a Bengals perspective, Joe Burrow's got to prove he can be great without Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
He wasn't, as a rookie, Joe Burrow was fine before he got hurt, but it's not a lot of games.
You're the first person to say that.
I mean, he was fine, but he wasn't great, and he obviously did not play well. And it's not all his fault because their line did not play well, but still, he didn't play well. He missed some throws, and obviously, when you go from Jamar Chase to Michael Thomas,
it's a bit of a drop-off.
I mean, that's as big a drop-off as you could possibly have. But it's not an excuse for losing. Joe Burrow's got to play better. Yeah. The offensive line hasn't played well enough.
Damn.
And they can't run block.
They put that stat back up. They really dominated 2 dudes.
It was crazy.
Listen, the numbers indicated every step. It was an absolute ass kicking yesterday.
193.
Ass kicking of the highest order.
That's a little
What
over
was the time? What was the time of possession too?
It felt like from the middle
time
of the
possession, by the way, was 37 minutes to 23. Mike.
By the way, from the middle of the second quarter till the middle of the third quarter, it felt like an hour that the Bengals didn't have the ball.
Yeah,
it seemed like the Browns had the ball for like an hour.
That is where.
Yeah.
So you talk about when you get to like what's the Holy Grail? The Holy Grail for the Browns, and I first saw this when they played the Dallas Cowboys a couple years ago when Odell ran that reverse and everybody had 100 yards, it seems. Mm-hmm. When the Browns get to that point where they stop time on you, it's That's the highest level because, like you said, teams are like, dude, they done had the ball the whole damn quarter.
Nick Chubb run for 4 yards and stay in bounds, and the clock just keeps moving, and you're like, oh yeah, move that clock, go on.
Yeah, because if they get up 12, it's hard because, and I will say that's when Kevin Stefanski sequences things, right? When he's sequencing like, okay, let's run the play action here, and then he gets 6 yards. Now if it's second and 4. You can't stop that. They take the whole damn game away, and that's the highest level of what their offense is.
No doubt. Last 2 things I would like to rip the Bengals for since you brought it up.
Please, I'm glad.
Number 1, Zach Taylor, I've said this consistently, even when he went to the Super Bowl, is not a good coach.
Joe Banner agrees with you. You and Joe Banner agree.
You said that.
He is not a good coach. I've said this consistently. Kevin Stefanski's a better coach than Zach Taylor. I would bet anything on that. If they had the same roster, Kevin Stefanski would have more success. I can't name a single player on the Bengals offense that has that he could say, Joe Burrow's a great talent. Jamar Chase is a great talent. T. Higgins is a great talent. Tyler Boyd's a good talent. Joe Mixon's a good talent. I can't say he's elevated to play on anybody of offense. The Bengals DC is excellent. They didn't play a good game yesterday, but their DC, Lou Anarumo, they got a bunch of just guys on their defense. And outside of yesterday, they've played great, and they played great last year. And the adjustment they made to Kansas City in the AFC Championship is one of the all-time defensive coordinator adjustments. Patrick Mahomes looked lost in the second half. But their coach stinks. And Tyler Boyd, who I love and is one of my favorite Bengals, he embarrassed himself, and he embarrassed the entire fan base yesterday. I don't want to see this nonsense celebrating when you score a touchdown. It's 25-0.
Yeah.
You score a touchdown, he's doing the sniff the fingers thing. By the way, I hate that. I don't know what it is, but that sniff the fingers thing, every time a player does that, I want to punch the freaking guy in the face.
It's not it's not
and
good.
And Joe Mixon.
No one tell Bull what that is.
By the way, I'm pissed at Steve Becker. I'm pissed at Adam Ostro right now because I can't curse and I want to curse. I'm pissed at all of them, all right? Joe Mixon, grow the bleep up, all right? Don't try to start a fight on every play. Nick Chubb gets cheap shots on him every single play. And he never does any of that nonsense. Never. Nick Chubb is a stud, and you are just a guy, Joe Mixon.
Look at the camera. Bull, look at the camera.
I don't look at the camera. I'm sorry that I don't look at the camera. I've been doing radio for 20 freaking years, and now I'm doing TV. By the way, subscribe to our YouTube page. Become a member. For $1.99, you get an emoji of me screaming.
And right now, by the way, if anybody does have those stickers, are those stickers out now?
Oh, they're being blasted in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
Nonstop.
Smack all those stickers. If you want some stickers, it's $1.99. Get you some Snickers. Stickers. Don't have
maybe
people.
Snickers
and a Snickers. Don't have people
will have
smacking.
As a matter of fact, looks in that picture like he just saw his parents having sex. That's what he looks like.
There you go. Have a Snickers.
We're moving on. Aditi, what's up? Thank you for being here to save us from any further comment on that.
Aditi, how criminal is it that we are not allowed to curse on TV? Is that the dumbest thing you've ever heard in your life?
No, not really, because we, in theory, don't want our children hearing us curse, and that's why we have a swear
They're
jar.
words.
They are words.
Children see violence. Children see terrible behavior all the time, all over the place. What is me? I curse in front of my son. He knows it's an adult word because I don't talk to him like he's a 5-year-old. I talk to my son, and I say to him, I use these words. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They're adult words.
You're not allowed to use them.
You don't use them. When you're an adult, you can use them. And it's perfectly fine. And generally, people that curse more are more intelligent. That's been proven by science. And so we should curse on TV.
Really?
There has been a study done.
That cursing is a crutch when you don't have a good vocabulary.
No, I got a great vocabulary. And I got a perfectly fine. No, I don't have a great vocabulary. I'm not gonna overrate my vocabulary. My vocabulary is adequate. It's right in the middle. And usually people that have too big a vocabulary are snooty people who are obnoxious that just like to say words because they think nobody else knows it, so they have to explain it.
No, unless it's actually part of your natural conversation. Are you saying I don't have a good vocabulary? I feel like most people who know me actually comment on my vocabulary.
I didn't say you
But I'm definitely not one of those people that's using big words just to use big words.
I wasn't talking about you specifically, but I'm saying, I'm saying people do that.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I haven't really graded. I haven't broken down your vocabulary. I assume
you've never really thought about my vocabulary.
I haven't really. It hasn't crossed my mind because I'm not obsessed with vocabulary.
One of my early hits at CBS, and I got a message immediately. Ameliorate. Do most people know what ameliorate means? Do you know what ameliorate means?
I have no freaking clue, and I don't care. But I do care. Go ahead.
I can make it up.
It means to make better, to make a situation better.
You use that word?
I do.
That's an obnoxious word.
Oh, all right. Just because you didn't know it. You didn't even know the word until 3 seconds
Because
ago.
nobody knows that word. Don't use words that people don't know. I'm a dunderhead. I don't know that word.
This is your friend.
You're all being obsequious.
This is your buddy. This is your guy. You take him to
obsequious mean
potlucks.
fawning?
What's that?
Wait, doesn't obsequious mean overly attentive and fawning?
I was being I don't know. I have no idea what that word means. I just said that was
He
my
was being
joke.
facetious, Aditi.
Oh, well,
There's my vocabulary.
That's an
see.
acceptable word.
Yeah.
That's not too hoity.
Jason, did you have fun at the game last night? I got to see Jason for a minute, but I really didn't
10
get to catch
seconds.
up.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you, but we just didn't get the chance. I thought you'd come in
No,
studio.
you were too busy.
You were in town. I thought you'd come in studio today.
No, you know what? I got in. I literally got in just before the game. So, like, I got in at maybe 5 p.m. I did what I needed to do. And then during the game was just insane. And then there was a little bit of post game. And I literally just drove back from Cleveland.
And then you had to get out of your Harley Quinn outfit so you could be on camera, I assume, right?
I don't know what a Harley Quinn outfit is, but I'm wearing a sweatshirt.
She's a
and
villainous-
So I clearly
You don't
didn't
know
change.
Harley Quinn?
But she knows ameliorate.
You know ameliorate?
I don't know
but you
Harley Quinn either. What am I missing?
Like,
It's the
Harley
bad guy
Quinn,
in
like the
Batman.
Harlequin novels?
No, Harley Quinn is a character from the DC universe.
I don't watch that junk.
I was pretending like you were you went as a basic girl costume.
But she dresses
last night
very
as
like
as a joke, yeah.
like gothy kind of.
Yeah.
It's the Joker's girlfriend.
Yes.
Hey, hang on a second. I'm going to throw a water bottle. I don't want you to hear it. Missed.
Not even close.
I'm yet to
I
make
thought you
one.
got rid of the garbage can because
It's
you were
back.
so
It's back. This is the first day it's back.
Because Jay and Jason are out of control with this behavior.
Yeah.
I've
Oh,
yet
very
to make
unprofessional.
one. Wasn't
I'm
even a good
old
effort.
for the show.
Yeah, without Jay here, our shooting percentage is like way down as a team.
All right,
All right.
Do you guys want some breaking
who has a
news
real
real
question?
quick, though?
Who got
Yeah,
a real
let's get
question?
serious.
Wait,
now.
no,
Hang on,
I am
hang on.
serious.
Mikey's
We
got-
have some breaking news on the trade front. It's not Cleveland related.
Oh, why
but-
would you do that?
Because it's a big trade.
All right, go ahead.
TJ Hawkinson, who's 5th in the league in tight end receiving
What?
yards, was traded to the Minnesota Vikings within division. So that just leads us off. Aditi, is anyone on the
Why
Browns?
would that's a bad job out of you?
Why would they do
That's
that?
irrelevant to the Browns.
Let's
Well,
hear what Aditi
it's
has
starting
to
the
say
avalanche
about
of
it.
trade. That's
No,
a,
but it's like, what is going? Like, how do you trade to a division rival in
Yeah.
such
I
a great
don't know.
year? And I just saw
How do you
TJ.
keep-
on
Because the
Sunday.
Lions suck.
I had the Lions Dolphins game.
Why would they
Yeah,
trade
but
him?
this whole idea, the conversation that I had with Brad Holmes and with Dan Campbell and even with Sheila Hamp, who of course is the owner, was about building around this young core and how young this team is and how guys like an Amon-Ra St. Brown and a Jeff Okudah are who you need to build around and grow with and teach these guys how to win. I'm just sort of surprised because I heard nothing about TJ Hawkinson. And I'm very, very tempted to look at my phone right now because very funny story. Random
You're
aside.
allowed to. We look at ours.
Well,
Go ahead.
random aside, when I am a sideline reporter, I generally stand, if I'm not like standing behind
There,
the
look
bench.
at that. Look at that
thing.
hot shot.
I'm looking at
Yeah,
details of this
but-
trade, Mike, bro.
Go ahead.
he
Go
got
ahead.
a second and third round pick for him.
Aditi, go on.
Well, they gave up 2 picks also.
I stand at the line of scrimmage, and the Dolphins are playing the Bears this weekend. And so a Bears coach who was breaking down the All-22 from Sunday's game sent me a photo of me almost being run over by a tight end. And it's really, really funny. Thank goodness I have such cat-like reflexes that I wasn't actually run over. But it is such a funny photo, and now I'm wondering if it's Hawkinson.
Yeah, but now you would have been on that NFL workers' comp for like the next 15 years of your life. You should have taken that
because
hit
I no
from that
longer
tight
work
end.
for the NFL. Look at this photo. Can you see it?
Oh, man, he almost took you out. Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
He was
That
out
is
here.
Hawkinson, by the way.
And
That
then
is
here's another one.
88, right?
Did your life
And
flash
there I am.
before your eyes?
Oh, wow.
No, that dude behind me was in the way. So, basically what happened is that I stepped back to get out of the tight end's way. Did we determine, is this Hawkinson or not?
88's Hawkinson, so.
Your
it looked
body
like-
Yeah,
posture in that is
it was
fantastic.
Hawkinson. Oh my gosh! So it was totally. This is probably why they traded him. That he almost ran me over, right?
Oh my God!
You honestly you look like a cat that sees a dog coming.
Low-key, the sidelines of football games are dangerous.
Personal space. That dude was like right on top of
Yes,
me. See, there's a lot of space. Like, back up. So anyway, I step back. I end up stepping on his foot, and I say, "Excuse me." And Hawkinson is coming at us, and that dude, just so you know, was not looking to help me. He just kind of backed himself up. Look, is he helping me? Is he pulling me out of the way? Is he doing anything?
Let's call that guy out. He's a D-bag.
Yeah,
let's get him fired.
Find that guy's name. Let's.
So I think that he's probably like a team doctor. I think it's a great photo, but I think it's even more funny that it's a Bears coach catching it on the All-22 to send it to me.
Yeah, that is funny.
That's pretty good.
By the way, what kind of doctor is he if he's letting you get crushed by a football player?
Oh, yeah, so maybe he's not a doctor. Maybe it was a security guy. I don't know who he was. I have no idea who he was. But I was very like, get out of my face.
There are so many people on sidelines.
By the way, here's the trade for those who are interested since Mikey broke the news. Minnesota trades in the 2023 a second-round pick this year and a third-round pick next year for Hawkinson, a fourth-round pick this year, and a fourth-round pick next year. They just moved up in each draft one round and 2 rounds.
Just that Detroit-Miami game was never going to be good anyways, Aditi. We both know that.
It was a great game.
No,
Detroit
Miami
went up, scored 3 early touchdowns. I mean,
I watched it, Aditi. I was watching you.
Were you watching me?
I'm not going to lie. I didn't realize you were in that game, but I happened to watch it. I didn't purposely put it on. I'm not going to lie. I keep it real. I didn't know, I didn't remember that you were doing it.
But did you
hear
me?
I was just making fun of the Lions.
I did.
Were you pleased? Did I do a good
Of course,
job?
you always do a great job. I would tell you. I mean, I wouldn't. If I thought you did a bad job, I would tell you off the air, not on the air.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Because he's a gentleman.
I'm always looking for feedback and what could be better. And
I've
what
given
you would
you
have
feedback
liked to
for
hear
it.
more
You do an
of.
excellent job. I would tell you the truth, but you do an excellent job as always.
No,
but
I will tell you
it was
this.
a good game.
I really like Tua. I was really very, very impressed by Tua.
He's been great.
I enjoyed talking to him on a personal level. I think he's very, very smart. Clearly, his teammates really respect and like him, and what he has going on with Mike McDaniel is lovely to see.
Aditi, are you getting more? Are you getting more comfortable? Are you like enjoy on the sideline? And I mean, the more you do this, have you learned a lot? And what's something you learned along the way?
Really, and I was saying this to a Bengals coach last night, actually. I am enjoying it so much more than I thought I would. And first of all, you're part of the broadcast, right? That's the most important thing. Everything else that we do is kind of just like chatter and talk. And it's speculation and all of that. So I love actually being a part of the game. I love not being in the game of saying, hey, Cheeto Awuzie has a torn ACL, which yesterday was what we feared. And it's not really my job to break that sort of news anymore. So like, okay, great, cool. And also it's so enlightening because when you're actually there on the field, you know what really happens. And then the next day, in the paper or on TV, you read something that's completely different, and you're like, I was actually there. That's not how it went down.
And then you get to come on and not tell us about any of those contradictions.
Yeah, but sometimes I can't. That's the thing. Like, and I referenced this earlier that we had this production meeting with Jacoby Brissett week 2 of the season, and week 1 of the season, of course, in Carolina, there was that very weird, like, late spike that kind of maybe should have been a grounding or something. Right. You recall what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And so week 2, we found out what actually really happened and why that went down. And I can't tell you because we were just told, so we actually knew, and we didn't make a point of saying, oh, Jacoby Brissett screwed up, because he didn't actually really screw up.
Right.
But we can't sell out the other guy to explain why exactly it happened. But it's cool still knowing it.
Yeah, I get it. That would be.
Aditi, let me ask you this. What do you make of Kevin Stefanski's dominance? Especially, in 2010, the Bengals were a bad team, so I get it. But last year, the second game last year, the Bengals were playing backups because they had nothing to play for. But the first game last year, the Browns killed them. And they were awful
yeah,
for the most part.
that was the Odell Beckham week. Like the Browns weren't going to lose to anybody. The Browns weren't going to lose to the 86 Bears that week.
So you don't think there's anything to this? It's just coincidence that the Browns have played great in these games?
I think that at some point things become a trend. At some point you can sit here and say, okay, wow, that's a lot of them, sure. But if you look at them individually, there's sort of reasons why certain things went down. And then yesterday, the Browns team that we saw was kind of the one that we expected to see. But you know what the big difference was they got up early. And it's funny because I was talking about this with Duke Tobin, the Bengals general manager, in the tunnel yesterday. They're a very different team when they're up early. The Browns get up early, and all of a sudden they can run the ball, and they can run it down your throat. And we saw it with Nick Chubb. And the Bengals weren't able to kind of change their coverages. And also Cheeto Awuzie got hurt, and Trey Flowers got hurt. And so that also plays into all of it. But this is what the Browns have been striving for. Get up early, and then let Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt bring you home. And that's what we got to see. And how much fun was it? And oh my gosh, to your point, I am waiting to be ho-hum about Nick Chubb, and I just can't.
Never.
Every time I see him, I'm like, he is just that good.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's remarkable.
At some point, greatness becomes like old hat, but it hasn't for me and Nick Chubb, because every time I see him, I am just blown away. And I will tell you that yesterday I was standing by the locker room. Jason, this is when you were there too. And we watched all these guys walk into the locker room, all these Browns walk into the locker room. And just about everybody had a massive smile on their face, but not Nick Chubb.
Mm-hmm, of course.
He was like done with a business trip. Basically, that was it. Okay.
Well, according to Adam, he's scared that his best friend might get traded. Or no, that was G. That was G. G says he's scared his best friend might get traded, so he might be sad about that. Do you think there's any chance that Kareem Hunt's going to be traded?
Andrew Berry's not giving him away for nothing, and so is the compensation out there really going to be that otherworldly? That makes sense. And you look at the AFC North. Nobody is running away with it right now. The Ravens have only gotten more aggressive, right? Because they're seeing opportunity right here. The Bengals clearly have some vulnerabilities, and if they don't have a secondary anymore, let's see if they can bring in another corner today. And I mean, it's not that easy to replace a corner like Cheeto Awuzie and just say, okay, let's snap our fingers here. So the Browns are suddenly within a game of the division lead, and Deshaun, and not that it's fair, because of course Jacoby Brissett is not the sole reason for why the Browns are sitting where they're sitting, but you've got Deshaun Watson coming back in, and this is the guy that you mortgage so much of your future on. You've still got a ton of talent. You're still fairly healthy. I don't think the Browns are giving up on the season by any means. And if Kareem Hunt is one of your biggest playmakers and one of your best assets, why would you just give him away? I don't think that the Browns are in position right now to be thinking about next year. I think they're very much alive this year.
By the way, Didi, I agree with everything you said except one thing, and I think a lot of people say this, and I disagree with this. When you trade a bunch of draft picks to get a great player, I don't think that's mortgaging your future. I think they gave themselves – the Browns had no future with Baker Mayfield because he's not a good quarterback. So they had to get a good quarterback. You can't win. I know the Giants are a fun story and the Jets are a fun story. Those teams are not winning anything, even if they make the playoffs, because they don't have quarterbacks. You can't, with very few exceptions, you can't succeed long term, and you certainly can't succeed in the playoffs without a great quarterback. So I don't care how many first-round picks they give up. If Deshaun Watson is the player eventually, even if he's rusty in the beginning, if he's the player he was in Houston for those first few years, with this roster, they have a chance of winning a Super Bowl, which, in my opinion, they never would have with Baker. What say you?
I mean, I do. I think that that's fair. And you're right. I think mortgaging their future is kind of a cliche. And we should all sort of have more of the Les Snead mindset. Like, the object is to win right now, and nothing is promised tomorrow anyway. Right. And you have no idea what tomorrow is going to bring. So you try to win now.
That's right.
And I think that it's funny. It's a conversation that's being had in Pittsburgh as related to its offensive coordinator. And it's not, okay, we'll deal with whatever needs to change in February. If you know that this is what you want to do, then put in the guy that you want to do it with now. Or if you know this isn't what you want to do, then get rid of that guy now. What's the point in waiting for 8 more games? So
great point.
I do agree with you, and I just don't think the Browns have given up on the year, and I don't think there's any reason for them to give up on the year. And in fact, Adam, isn't that the conversation we had last week when we were talking about Kareem Hunt? Is exactly what you said. You said wait until Monday, and if the Browns win, then don't move him because they're alive, and if they lose, they're done. And I said, well, I don't know that they're really done, all things considered, in the shape of the NFL right now and how much bad football we're seeing and what sort of records it's going to take to get into the playoffs. And it is just about getting into the dance. Like, that's where we disagreed. But I don't think there's any Browns fan right now who can't look at yesterday's result and say, we are very much alive.
Yeah.
Didi, we argue all the time. Now I think it's to the point where we're arguing about semantics.
Yeah, right.
Where do you come off on the the Nick Chubb over 20 carries, under 20 carries? Do you believe that there is a certain amount of carries that he should get, or is it just a feel thing, or do you think give him balls just as much as possible?
And let me just give you the context.
I think it's a feel thing completely. I've never been a slave to you have to do it this many times. You have to run only 5 miles. Well, if you feel like getting 6 done today, great. And if you had a morning like I did today and there's no way that you can even get to 3, okay, the effort counts for something. So I think if Nick is not getting hit a lot and it's all coming easy to him and the holes are enormous and all of a sudden he's at 24 carries and he's not gassed, okay, why would you stop him? And if you've got a 4 touchdown lead and Nick only has 14 carries, why force an extra 6? I don't know that there's a magic number other than saying this is your best player. Ride him. Use him. Don't be afraid to use him. That's it. And again, don't go away from him even if it's early. And, like the one thing that I don't like, a football game is long. And just because you're down in the first quarter doesn't mean you're out of the game. So I think sometimes it's really important to stick with what you do well. And too often we see teams go down a touchdown or go down 10 points and just immediately panic-wise start throwing the ball. You don't have to do that. There's a lot of time left. Don't go away from the run. I mean, it's something that Mike LaFleur, the Jets offensive coordinator, was talking about to us week 2 prior to the Jets facing the Browns. And he said that he remembers that Christmas Day game. It was Christmas, right? When the Browns and the Packers played each other?
Yeah.
So the Christmas Day game, the Packers, I believe, had gone down. And Mike was saying that his brother, Matt LaFleur, kept running the ball. And that was so instructive to him that you don't go away from what you do well if you do, in fact, have enough time. I mean, if you only have 70 seconds left, if you only have 50 seconds left, it's a different option. But especially early in a game, don't go away from the run. I think that it's way more important then to live with that, to stick with that, than it is to say, okay, X number of carries had to have been had.
Hey, Didi, I want to give you your flowers. You said last week that Myles Garrett was going to have the type of game to really turn this thing around, that he was one of the guys that you were sort of pointing to and looking to, and he delivered. That was his best game of the year. I thought the effort was there, the production was there, the numbers were there. Just what did you think of Myles last night and just the defenses? I said for some reason they have to get their ass kicked by the Patriots before they figure out how to play defense. They turned it around last year after they were embarrassed in Foxborough. We saw signs last week of this turning, the way they contained Lamar, the way they got the turnover late in the game to get the offense the ball back, and then it really spilled over into last night. Do you think they're starting to finally get some answers defensively?
Do you think Myles heard me? Did you share with Myles what I said? Because he walked off the podium. He walked off the podium yesterday. I was standing right by the door, and he gave me this big smile and hey, and I was just like, And now that you mentioned that, maybe that was
he watches the show every day.
Funny you for doubting me. I don't know, or maybe that I told Kevin Stefanski that yesterday. I said I brought you luck, and he said, "Well, you'll be back every week, right?" And I mean, obviously not, but maybe I should have said I lit the fire under Myles Garrett's tushy. Maybe that's what I should have said.
There you go.
It was.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is it's exactly like I said last week, Jason, and I appreciate your remembering that and bringing that up. In a game like this, in a moment like this, you need your biggest, best players to rise. And Myles met the moment. And that's it. And it was necessary. This is what I'll say. It was necessary. Yes, It was great. Yes, it was fun to see. Yes, it was good. But at its core, it was necessary. And if you are going to be one of the biggest, best, brightest stars in the NFL, you need to do that every week. You just do.
Yep.
Aditi, great stuff as always. We love you. We'll see you later in the week. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Aditi. Thank you.
All right. What is the internet saying there? Mikey
internet's
McGuire?
been flying around after this Browns win. Whenever we bring you what the internet says, it's brought to us by our great friends, our good friends, whatever you want to. Actually, if you want to use ball, for our friends over at PCC Airfoils. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Mentor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus a full benefit package and a swish from Jason Lloyd.
Nope,
you can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. Jason, did you miss that?
Missed it. For the history of the show.
It's embarrassing.
Brutal.
It looked good.
He got a weird angle. In his defense, he has a weird angle.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the angle.
We got 2 super
Go
chats to read today. Kenneth Yablowski says, did you guys notice
Kenneth
Alex Wright?
Yablowski. Go ahead.
Kenneth what?
Forget it.
It's all right.
Bad attempted humor.
I
Go
liked
ahead.
it.
Kenneth, now you're scaring me to say this.
You did nothing wrong. I tried to make a joke. It didn't
Got you.
Keep it
Kenneth
moving.
Kenneth says, did you guys
Yablowski.
notice Alex Wright played a lot inside last night? Seemed to work rather well. And Monty Berry says we have to stop overhyping the Bills. They're not as good as we say they are.
Here we go.
I told you.
Don't
We
embarrass
got 'em.
yourself, people.
We got him right where we want
Don't
him.
embarrass yourself.
Live in Miami and see how many people are
Oh,
going to
my
talk
God. They're not that
themselves into.
good. Now,
Buffalo who? Ha ha.
there are a percentage of all fans, not just Cleveland fans, that determine after every week their team is how they played that week.
Yes.
That's their team.
Yes.
Yep.
And then every other week doesn't matter. And then they do it again the next week and next week. Time for final takes. Jason, start us off.
Wow. All right. Real quick, you caught me off guard with that.
You said he had a Guardians one yesterday.
Well, I did, but I'm going to punt on that one because
Yeah.
I don't like it as much. I was talking to Kevin Love after the game the other night, and I'm actually leaving here to go talk to him, and I'm going to have a story on this in the coming weeks. But there's a pathway for Kevin Love to finish his career with the Cavs, and whoever saw that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when these sides pretty much hated each other and were just staring at each other waiting for the other one to go away. And it's just how this whole thing has come full circle with the Cavs, the way they've rebuilt this, the way that they're now a contender again. Kevin just wanted to play meaningful basketball at the end of his career. He has that opportunity. And I think that there will be a pathway now. Obviously, he's making a fortune, making $30 million a year. He knows a steep pay cut is coming. I don't think it's league minimum, but it's a fairly dramatic cut over where he is now. He seems as if he's open to taking it, and I think there's a real chance that Kevin Love finishes his career a Cleveland Cavalier. He'll have his number in the rafters one day, and it's a happy ending to a story that was starting to get ugly for a couple years there. But, you know, for the guy who was really ridiculed when the Big Three was first assembled, and he took a lot of heat, and then he got the big contract, and he took heat for not living up to it. This whole thing could have a nice happy ending.
Yes. Yes. I love that, and I love what's going on with him. I love that he's that veteran out there for them right now.
They call him Grandpa Kev.
Oh I love that he's letting the Rex Reed gray come in the sides of his hair.
Yep.
He looks so. He's like
Almost as good as me.
It's so almost like exactly silver fox, just like the bull.
Go ahead, Mike.
I just want to say congratulations, and I'm always happy for you, Pumpkinhead, Browns fan Pumpkinhead.
Oh, God.
Who you put that pumpkin on your head, every single game, events and whatnot. His name's Gus Angelone. I've met you, Gus. You're a nice gentleman. And yet, obviously, yesterday, Halloween game for Pumpkinhead, Monday Night Football. This was his Christmas. This was like his Make-A-Wish. And he got a lot of FaceTime because he has a pumpkin on his head. And which it's inconvenient, let's face it, sometimes probably, especially when you have really good seats for a Browns game. I don't believe that he could see through that all that well. It's a terrible vantage point. And he takes those hits for the team because he's got a pumpkin on his head. And he does it every game. And yesterday, he got to do it on Halloween. And I'll bet he's been waiting for that for a long time. And congratulations to you, Pumpkinhead, for living out that dream.
Do you know what's crazy? Real quick, and I'll make this quick. Even a pumpkin on that dude's head is more brain safe than they had when they first started playing football in like the 50s.
That's
like,
true.
Had they put pumpkins on their head,
That
that
is
actually would have
true.
been a better helmet
Yep.
than nothing.
That was when it was just like a lamb's bladder.
I don't understand. I guess it's Halloween, and I'm a curmudgeon about Halloween. I hate Halloween. I thought it was interesting, though, that last night for Halloween, by the way, Rocky River, which has the only thing I don't like about Rocky River is there's no diversity in Rocky River. It's like 92% blonde, blue-eyed white people.
You got a little Aryan suburb over there?
Yeah, right.
All right.
There's like 2 Jews,
You're one of them?
5 black people, 3 Puerto Ricans. It's like not much diversity. But last night for trick or treat, it was pleasant. It was like the United Nations at my house yesterday. We had everybody represented. It was great.
Why?
Why?
Because people drive from other neighborhoods to better neighborhoods
for sure
to trick or treat. That happens in my neighborhood, and my neighborhood's
I loved
bad.
it.
So did I. It's great.
It was great.
And it's smart. And my parents, when we were in Youngstown, used to drive. We would go to a different neighborhood to go trick or treat. Where they actually would be participating.
And by the way, the kids who came from the other neighborhoods were much more polite than the rude, spoiled kids from my neighborhood.
I used to watch in our old house before we moved. The van would pull up and the kids would pile out. It's great. Come on.
Lady next door to me, by the way. No, it's not I know my final take's over.
Yeah.
Lady next door to me giving out full-size candy bars like a jerk, making me look lousy. Can you believe that? So I got to give out 3.
My daughter got 10 full-size candy bars last night.
What neighborhood are you in?
10.
You live in even a more obnoxious town than Rocky River.
That is not true.
What is a more obnoxious town? Rocky River, Avon Lake, 216?
Vote.
Put it in the chat.
Put it in the chat.
And
Michael
we may
have
talk
the
about that as
result
our
in 38
Or
seconds.
hoity-toity, Rocky River or Avon Lake?
I worked in Avon Lake. Gets a little oxycontin-y sometimes.
Avon Lake's more. Rocky River is hoity, but I don't live in the hoity-toity part of Rocky River. I live on the southern end of Rocky River.
Listen, Earl will understand. Where I come from, you can't trick or treat.
Yeah.
Ain't no such thing as trick or treat. You go to the school and they have something. You can't get to go door to door because bad things happen when you're after 6 o'clock going door to door.
That sucks, and that shouldn't be the case.
That's
so
sad.
I'm happy to have kids from all neighborhoods at my house, and they were very polite and nice kids. And I was hooking them up.
All right, here we go.
I threw them like 5-6 candies each.
Hey, we gonna continue to bus our people to your neighborhoods
for candy reparations.
For get some candy.
Candy reparations.
Shout out to y'all for handing out the good candy. I salute y'all, man. Man, it's kind of weird, man. One of the things that we talk about in culture, hip-hop culture is so huge in the black community, and everything is a hip-hop culture. At some point, it's trickled through our whole society. But one of the craziest things, one of those dangerous jobs in America is being a rapper, man. I came in, Earl, it just seemed like we just all get emails, You might not know who the Migos are, but, they're a really big hip-hop group, and they really kind of the way they rapped, they really changed the sound of hip-hop music for about, I would say for the last 10 years or so. And one of their members, Takeoff, died gambling, shooting dice. And I just thought about how, as a black male, sometimes it's crazy. It's like, if it's not, we've all been through instances and situations where we talked about it a couple years ago with police brutality. But even with that, it's almost like as a black male in America, you can't win. Like if you're trying to duck that. But being around your own people comes with a level of, it's a level of danger in that too. You don't want to be a person that says, okay, there's more than 10 black people here, or there's 10 people from the inner city. Now I got to be scared something gonna happen. But it's crazy that, when we talk about things like Black Lives Matters and stuff and different things like that, one of the things that we ourselves are giving ammunition to other people is to say, do you really believe what you're saying? Because we doing the most against our own people. I've heard people robberies and dice games and just, from Pop Smoke to Nipsey Hussle to PNB Rock, guys get robbed for jewelry. It's crazy. It's like you are a target wherever you go. You can't be safe around your own hood. You can't be safe driving your car. Who knows which way you gonna go? To me, it's just really sad because I believe that black males are an endangered species, and it's so tough to see successful people that could change the way we look at things, that can, get programs started to stop people from going down violence. Those just happen to be rappers. And in our community, those are success stories. They're not lawyers. They're not doctors. We don't know no CEOs. There ain't no owners of no teams that's African American. So a lot of times people say, why do y'all look up to those people? We look up to them because they're the only symbol of success. That's why I want. I never don't go on shows. I never don't. If you got a podcast, they say, G. Bush, you want to come? I do it every time, and that's just because I don't ever want somebody to be like, you're not a representation of what a good individual would do. So it's sad, and I don't want to get desensitized to it, make me feel like that's just part of the game, and I gotta seclude myself. But we gotta do better. We got to do better, man. And in general, we can do better, but some had to give, right? Because we can't complain about stuff happening when people don't look at us as real individuals if we're not saying the same thing about our own people.
My final take is kind of in a similar vein. It's kind of two parts, but I think they are connected in some way. And since we have a couple of minutes, I'll get into it. I've been very saddened by, we've talked about it a little, and I've screamed and yelled and joked, but seriously, the comments by Kanye West and the promotion of anti-Semitic tropes by both Kanye West and Kyrie Irving. And yes, Kyrie, if you tweet about a book that talks about basically how all these awful things about Jewish people, you are promoting it. You may not be going, as I think Rich Eisen said, you may not be going on a book tour, but you put it out to 4 million followers, most of whom didn't know anything about this awful stuff. And it's really a shame. Minority groups of all kinds in this country and around the world are marginalized and dehumanized, as Kyrie Irving has said. And Kyrie Irving talks about being dehumanized. A lot of people are dehumanized, and that's awful. But that's what he is supporting by supporting these awful books and movies that he put out there. There are bad people in every group of our population, but most people, I believe, are good. And to put everybody in a religious or racial or any kind of group as all bad people is despicable. And I'm even more disappointed by the reaction to it and the whataboutism that's been used in this situation. I'm really disappointed. And, I have family members that were, not that I knew, obviously, because it happened before I was born, but some of my extended family before I was born were killed in the Holocaust. Okay? So I don't take this stuff lightly, because Jewish people were parts of other countries that turned on them, and then they were thrown in ovens. Okay? So don't give me this nonsense about, well, it's okay what Kyrie says. He's entitled to his opinion. When your opinion is ignorant, yeah, you have the right to say it, but I have the right to tell you you're being ignorant and causing a lot of damage. You're not as smart as you think you are, Kyrie.
And Steve Nash just got fired, by the way.
I was going to say that.
Like, within the last, from when you started the final take to right now, Steve Nash just got fired.
Steve Nash and the Nets have parted ways. Because that's the problem with the Nets is Steve Nash.
Steve
Right.
Nash.
I've been saying it. Once they get that kook out of there.
And by the way,
that Canadian kook.
I've always been one person to say that if you see something wrong, it don't matter if it's coming from your side or people that look like you should say something.
Kudos to Richard Jefferson, who called out Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving is historically incorrect. And that's why I tell people it's so important that, yes, our history in this world is the past, but I think you should definitely know your history. And I think the school systems have to do a good job of teaching everybody what the past is, so we don't make these same mistakes.
All of it.
It happened. It was one of the biggest stains on humanity, and you have to understand. You just tweeting something, bro.
But
we don't
want our kids to feel bad about that stuff happening. What? Oh, hey, maybe a deserved one now and again.
I actually had a 2-part final take, but that first part went long, so I'm going to leave it there. I'll do the other part tomorrow. Guys, good to see y'all.
Good seeing you too.
We won.
Browns win.
We won, baby.
Browns win.
Hey, we get that Dolphins win. I'm telling you, Bills. I'm telling
Bowl.
you.
Here it comes.
I'm telling you,
Buffalo
Bills.
who?
What?
We got our guy Cam from Canada on Twitter. He's like, The Bills ain't that good.
Hey, let's start that party right now.
Buddy. You're out of your mind.
We just beat the team that went to the Super Bowl last year.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So look at it that way. The Bills didn't go to the Super Bowl. That means we're better than the Bills.
McNuggets, can we get that one more time can we get the subscriptions and memberships?
Yeah, we'll get the memberships up.
Let's
One more
go.
reminder, subscribe, become a member.
Bell.
Starters tier, $1.99. You get emojis, badges for $4.99. And the coaches tier, we're going to start an overtime video after
the
each show
McNuggets
based on
face
viewer
emoji.
Based on viewer submissions. We're going to answer your guys' questions. Become a member, be a subscriber, hit that notification bell. We got Leroy, Robert, and Dave Richard tomorrow.
So in other words, we won't be talking at all. Yeah. We'll see you tomorrow here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Hey-o!
We love most of you. We hate the rest of you. See you tomorrow.
Go Browns.